joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the redevelopment agencies, and all the other entities as listed on our agenda. This Tuesday, May 14, 2024. The call time is 6:43 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Corona.
Present.
Councilmember Rab.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Present.
Mayor Vargas.
Present. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be given by Pastor Teray Deaver from the Carpenters Church. Could all please stand and join us and remain standing for item 4, which is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Corona.
All right. Thank you so much for this, Your Honor, and staff. It's a pleasure to be here. Let us pray. Lord God, we come before you today just thanking you for this day. This is the day that you have made, so we will be glad and rejoice in it. We appreciate you, for we are the sheep of your pasture. You are our shepherd, and we choose, Lord God, to recognize you in all that we say or do. We honor you, Lord, for this staff. We ask you, Lord, for your wisdom. I pray, Lord, that you would confront them with the realities of what is going on in this community, but also, Father, give them the wisdom and the strategy to overcome that which has overcome these people. I thank you right now for unity in the community. I thank you, Father, for peace in Paris. We thank you, Lord, that you would encourage and help us to endeavor to keep the unity of spirit as we make our minds and decisions to live together in harmony and in love. We give your name all the glory and the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand on your heart. Ready? Begin.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, item 5, report on closed session items. Mr. Koo.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met in closed session on the items as listed on the agenda, but no reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Item 6 is our presentations and announcements. 6A is a presentation commemorating Public Works Week. This will be given by our Director of Public Works, Mr. Bryant Hill.
Yes, no tie.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff. Public Works Week is next week, May 19th through the 25th. And every year, the APWA comes up with a theme. And this year's theme is Advancing Quality of Life for All. Next, I'm going to show a few slides kind of highlighting Public Works with our upcoming projects, our completed projects, our community engagement, and then our strategic planning. So last fall, Public Works completed 2 half-day strategic planning sessions where we came up with our mission, vision, and values. Also, we incorporated a team building exercise where we went to the local paintball course where we kind of divided up in teams and played Army for a couple hours. Also, I'd just like to give the little mission statement for Public Works. The Public Works Department is dedicated to providing, serving, and maintaining quality of life through innovation and professionalism to enhance the community and enable it to flourish. Also, during the strategic planning, Public Works came up with our own little hashtag, which is Be the Compass. And we incorporated that in the shirt in your bags on the sleeve. Next is our community engagement. So for the past 2 years, Public Works has worked with Pastor Nolan, the church members during service week. We've done 2 planning projects along Evans Road. Next to the right is a replanting project at the train depot. And also we had volunteers from the community and the business. Next slide is completed projects. These are just a few of the many projects that we've completed throughout the year. The first one on the top left is our paving project, which included leveling out the pavers, resanding, pressure washing, resealing the pavers along D Street between San Jacinto and Fifth. To the right, the next two pictures. Last year, we incorporated a program to paint two of our city facilities, the exterior of two facilities. And last year, we completed Fire Station 90 and then also City Hall. Down at the bottom left, we completed a replanting project along 1st and 3rd Street on Paris Boulevard. The next picture to the right is installation of a 70-ton AC unit that we put in at the library. And to the right of that is the expansion of the dais here from, we had 4 seats and expanded it to 5. And then the last picture on the right is 2 years ago, we implemented a program to change out all the street name signs that were faded, were hard to read, and then we incorporated like the city logo on these signs. Last slide here is our upcoming projects. So the first one on the top left is a CIP project that is going out to bid later this week and completed looking around November, December of this year. The project will include new landscaping, new decorative lighting, pedestrian corridor enhancements, and then also redoing the street there. The next project to the right also is a CIP project. That project is along 4th Street between C and D on the south side. That project includes new landscaping, pedestrian walkway, decorative lighting, and a monument sign. And that will kind of mirror what is on the north side there of 4th Street and C by the Met Station. And that project is currently under construction and should be completed sometime this summer. The final two pictures, what we selected to be repainted, the top one is Fire Station 101, which has been completed already. And then the bottom one is council chambers, where we're in the process of getting quote for that. Next, I'd just like to share a short video of our Public Works team in action from this past year. I'd like to thank our digital media team for putting it together. So IT, please share the video.
conclude your presentation? That's okay. Thank you so much. Council, anybody have any comments? I do. Council, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I know this year with the rains, we had an awful lot of potholes, and I know quite a bit of time was spent repairing those. Approximately how many potholes have we filled?
I would say
Yeah,
over
more than that, I
thousands, probably
think.
2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah, I've seen the crew out there all the time repairing the potholes, so.
So we average around 100 to 150 every 2 weeks.
And it's worse when we get those heavy rains. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Councilman Corona?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I thought that was very informative. I'm just a little disappointed that I never got an invitation to the paintball place, but that's okay. But the question I do have is, I know I saw in the video that you guys are utilizing that new truck. How is the truck working, and is that saving time and cost for repairs of the potholes?
Yes, it is. And then All American Asphalt just started making this new asphalt. It's called Road Soup that has a lot more oils in it, and you can put it down cold so it doesn't have to be heated up. So it does have shortened up the time and the manpower out there.
Anybody else? All right, well, thank you very much. Your guys are definitely always out there every day working hard. I mean, it's amazing how much we get accomplished with our little team, but please do thank the men out there and the women that are part of your team members as well. All right, 6B is a presentation commemorating Building and Safety Month. This will be given by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. This will be presented by RV Dalgatan with Development Services.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, and to members of our community. On behalf of the Building and Safety Division, it is my pleasure to bring you this year's Building and Safety Month, hosted annually in the month of May. So Building and Safety Month, it's a globally recognized campaign spearheaded by the International Code Council, or ICC. ICC is also known for its crucial role in establishing building safety standards worldwide, including locally here in the city of Paris. With an outreach of more than 2 billion people, this initiative intimately touches the lives of families and individuals, establishing structural norms that significantly influence environmental quality and living standards. The campaign's impact resonates on a personal level as it sets benchmarks essential for ensuring safer and healthier built communities. So this month, for week 1, we dive into understanding the mission, which highlights the collective responsibility we hold for building safety. Together, we play important roles in maintaining safety in our living, working, and recreational spaces. For week 2, ICC empowers the community by providing important online resources to help individuals and families prepare their own safety plans. And then the following week, we are encouraged to learn from the pros, highlighting building safety professionals, what they do, and how they make a difference. Professionals in this field ensure construction projects meet safety standards and regulations, reducing the risk of structural failures and hazards. In week 4, we are encouraged to be advocates of building and safety. We are encouraged to talk to our network about building and safety and share fact-based knowledge and resources to our peers. And then lastly, in week 5, we celebrate successes and advancements in building and safety. So in this photo, you'll find the dedicated individuals from the building and safety team. On a daily basis, they apply their expertise and knowledge to safeguard the structural integrity and stability of projects in Paris. Their pivotal roles involves coordinating construction projects, overseeing plan checks, and conducting building inspections, which are all important for the overall safety and welfare of the community. Building and safety staff interpret codes, assist with the permitting process, and impart their knowledge, engaging the community both over the counter and on the field. In this photo, members of the building and safety team actively interact with the public during a city event, providing vital knowledge, tools, and equipment related to building and safety. This interaction is part of a continuous effort to educate the community regarding building safety and readiness. So this year, the building division continues to expand, assisting with new and upcoming urban developments. The division has a healthy variety of commercial, industrial, and residential projects in the pipeline. And the city continues to house businesses like Amazon, Forever 21, and Home Depot within its city limits. Household name companies that ultimately contribute to the growth and development of the city. Simultaneously, there is a steady growth in population for Paris. With an estimated population of about 80,000, this number is expected to grow, with scores of tract homes in the works. So this photo was taken a few weeks ago at the annual health fair, where staff interacted with hundreds of community members. And as individuals, we can observe Building and Safety Month by being advocates of the cause. We can share resources with our neighbors, friends, and families, and by just sharing resources, we really keep our community informed and knowledgeable of what are the resources that's available to us, something that's easily overlooked. We also recommend seeking out information and learning on your own. Being knowledgeable about the needs of your properties after construction is an important aspect of building and safety. Keep in mind that after construction comes maintenance and renovations, so it doesn't stop at construction. But keeping this all in mind protects your properties and the rest of the community. And finally, from May 20th to the 31st, in observance of this campaign, the Building and Safety Division will be providing informational packets, both over the counter and via social media, to continue engaging with the community and sharing the knowledge. With that said, I, along with my teammates at the back, are inviting you to stop over the Building and Safety front counter on the 3rd week of May to join us in observance of this event. And to close, the division handed out small tokens of invitation and appreciation to the mayor, city council, and the management team. And finally, I'd like to thank the audience, especially our community members, for having me here today and giving me the opportunity to share this message. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Council, anybody have any comments? All right, I think this is like your second presentation now. You're getting better, though. You're doing very well. Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you for the building safety team. Okay, item 6C is a presentation regarding the Mayor's Alliance to End Childhood Hunger. So I'm technically not giving it, but I'm going to introduce it. So, Council, this was just to give you an update on what we're doing with the council, with the Mayor's Alliance to End Childhood Hunger. So I asked staff to prepare a presentation and.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Community Services Project Coordinator Emmanuel Marquez will be presenting this item before you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council and City staff. My name is Emmanuel Marquez, Project Coordinator for the Community Services Department, and it is my pleasure to present the Mayor's Alliance to End Childhood Hunger, or MAECH. In 2022, our mayor, Michael M. Vargas, became the first mayor in Riverside County to join the 384 mayors nationwide in the Alliance to End Childhood Hunger. The Alliance is a nonpartisan coalition working in partnership with Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry national campaign, which ensures that every child has the healthy food they need to thrive. Since the mayor's commitment in 2022, the mayor and city staff have actively been part of the working groups and quarterly meetings, as well as added a new GIS layer that include our local pantries, 21 community gardens. I'm going to make it a little bigger. 21 community gardens, grocery stores, and we'll be adding our WIC center and stores. And this map could be accessed on our city website. And so we could add our community gardens, food pantries, and our grocery stores, and our nearby pantries, and then we'll be adding the WIC center and stores. The mayor and city staff are proposing to further this initiative through the development of new programs. And to start with the implementation, we are proposing 3 new programs utilizing existing resources, which consist of the Pack and Smile food giveaway, the Fueling Fun at special events, and the Seed to Success School Challenge. And I will now go into detail describing each program. The first program, Pack a Smile food giveaway, will provide children with backpacks with non-perishable food and snacks for the weekends during summer season. And the goal with this program is to target the summer meal sites that are ran by the school districts and have already participating youth attending these sites. Last year, the city partnered with Valverde Unified School District to host winter meals, and this year we're already requested to participate as a host site once again. Additionally, the city will partner with food banks to secure food items and request sponsorships to purchase additional food and backpacks as needed. The second proposed program is the Fueling Fun at special events. Sorry. This program will offer meal vouchers at our special events for children that are leaving, for children, and ensure that children are leaving with a meal. We will further work with existing food vendors at these events to potentially waive the registration fees with commitment to provide meal vouchers to children while also requesting sponsorship opportunities. And the third proposed program is the Seed to Success School Challenge, which features an educational component of the initiative and entails a friendly competition between 6 existing school site gardens with our 3 local school districts and 18 community gardens, all under the Grow Paris initiative. These community gardens are already producing and growing their own produce and providing it to their cafeteria or making it accessible to their students to take home. Garden champions will log the total pounds grown over a time period, and the site with the most produce will receive a monetary grant to be used for their garden, and staff will seek community sponsorships to provide that monetary grant. And to further support this initiative, the city will create collaborative partnerships with food bank and pantries. We will create collaborative partnerships with food banks and pantries, district nutrition services, health care agencies, and businesses. To kick off this initiative, we have scheduled a kickoff collaborative task force meeting with various community partners on May 30th at 12 p.m. to discuss the proposed programs and establish local resources among our community partnerships. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Council, do you have any comments, questions? All right. Well, you know, I brought this back from the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and they've got some brilliant programs going on there for the Mayors Alliances. I'll be commenting later on during our comments regarding the Mayor's Guaranteed Income Project, where we're at with that as well. But this is something I'm passionate about, and hopefully after launching this task force, we will get going on the roll. And I want to thank staff, too, for a big hand on this project. Thank you. Okay, item 8 is our public comment. This is the time when any member of the public may bring a matter. Oops, I'm sorry. Item 7, Youth Advisory Committee communications. This report will be given by our Kimberly Thai, our Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and City staff, good evening. My name is Kimberly Tai, It is a pleasure for me to hold the position of Vice President for YEC. I will provide you with an update on the most recent and forthcoming events of YEC. To start, YEC will host a Pizza with the Mayor event tomorrow night, Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. All youth are encouraged to come and participate. Pizza will be available to all while supplies last. Next, we will participate in this year's Empowering Your Mind event on Thursday, May 16th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. After that, on Friday evening, May 17th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., YSC will assist with the senior prom by serving food and beverages to our seniors. Lastly, on Saturday, May 18th, 2024, we will have our park cleanup at Enchanted Hills Park. Check-in is at 7:30 a.m. and we will start at 8 a.m. We encourage our community members to come and help keep our parks clean. Community service hours will be given to students. We want to remind everyone about our YSC applications and encourage all incoming 7th graders to 12th graders to apply to our Youth Advisory Committee, as we are in open recruitment. The application submission deadline is Friday, May 31st, 2024. Finally, please follow us on social media at Paris YEC for more updates and upcoming events. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Kimberly. All right, now we're going to item 8, which is our public comment. This is the time when any member of the public may bring the matter to the attention to the mayor of the city council that is within our jurisdiction and is not listed on the agenda. We will offer 3 minutes for each speaker. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Ashley Williamson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and respected members of the council. My name is Ashley Williamson. My pronouns are she, they, and I identify as part of the LGBTQIA community. I've been involved in civil rights activism in Orange County for the past 9 years, and though I have not lived here longer than a full year, my family has strong ties, connections, and memories to this place. All 3 of my children have very different identities, but we are all united under the pride flag we happily fly at the front of our home. We come to you today to request to raise the Intersex Progress Pride flag under the United States and California flag at the flagpoles outside City Hall. Pride to me is a celebration of a historically marginalized siblinghood. Pride means acceptance, dignity, respect, and a willingness to understand. It is about feeling heard and seen by your neighbors. Having a queer identity can be a vulnerability whose expression is ultimately translated into strength through pride. Showing solidarity with marginalized identities fosters not only a harmonious community, but one with a sense of purpose. Our neighbors, Moreno Valley and the city of Riverside, both fly the pride flag in June. The city of Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Diego, the White House, and the Capitol building do too. When I see a Progress Pride flag, I feel hopeful that there's a brighter, kinder horizon for my family and friends, for all of us. Sadly, a new wave of homophobic local and state legislation has been introduced in the past few years with increasing ferocity and hatred. This has led to the highest reporting of LGBTQIA-related hate crimes in California in the last 2 decades. Seeing a rainbow flag today tells me that whomever is flying it has got my back. It shows that we are united under a multitude of colors, just as we are as people of many colors and identities, united in our humanity. Paris is a beautiful city. From historic D Street to our blooming plains, alive with desert life, we truly have a city that shows the residents' dedication to both its legacy and natural wonders. In that respect, I also support Paris Neighbors in Action to call for a vote for the city's warehouses to pay their fair share back to the residents of Paris. One thing about our city is that it's changing, and for the better. I see the progress on the buildings next to the library, and I've witnessed previous city council meetings where you listen and respond to the public. I know that flying the pride flag will serve as a polychromatic milestone for our innovative and growing city. Please introduce and vote for a measure to honor our LGBTQIA neighbors by flying the pride flag during this month of June. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Stella Barton.
Good evening, Paris City Council members. My name is Estella Barton, and I'm currently a student of the Paris Union School District. As a member of the LGBTQ community, it would mean a lot to me, as well as other members of the community, to see the pride flag flown throughout June. To me, the pride flag, above all else, represents safety. When I see a pride flag outside an establishment, I feel it is far less likely for me to be harassed or mistreated. Paris is a tight-knit community. People know each other. However, it can always be safer. I don't always feel comfortable expressing my identity outwardly, and I'm afraid of being mistreated by my peers or others. While I know that flying the pride flag would not necessarily fix that, I want to believe that Paris is an accepting city that wants its people to feel safe. Seeing the pride flag would show that Paris is a place where all are welcome and you can be yourself without fear or harassment. I want to believe that's what Paris is.
Thank you.
Jillian Menez.
Hello. Good evening. I don't know how I can follow them up, but I do want to echo that sentiment. As a resident of Paris myself, I think it would be really wonderful for the City Council to consider a future agenda to, or if you could just fly it without bringing it to agenda, to fly the pride flag in the month of June. I think it would be a really wonderful way for the City of Paris to show support for our community's LGBTQ members. And it's a simple but really an action with a high impact. And I implore you to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carlos Senantes.
Good evening, council members, staff, Mayor Vargas, and of course, the residents of Paris. My name is Carla Cervantes, and I'm here as an ally for the LGBTQ community because they deserve the right to be seen, heard, and included. So I hope that you guys can wave the pride flag on the month of June because it will be so impactful to them. I'm also here to speak about the disappointment and frustrations toward Councilmember Rogers and Mayor Vargas for not protecting the interests of our neighboring cities of Riverside because they decided a few weeks ago to exempt a giant warehouse from being regulated by CEQA guidelines, even though they had over 100 emails from concerned residents in the area and over 10 environmental advocacy groups to oppose the exemption because doing so harms the residents in that area and beyond. At least now, not only do we know that you both are not only harmful for the city of Paris, but for our entire region because you make decisions that harm your constituents. I guess having no integrity for your position as a public servant makes it easier to sleep at night because you get paid tens of thousands in campaign donations from investors and warehouse developers. Thankfully, you are both up for re-election, and we know there are people all over Paris, Moreno Valley, and Riverside that are eager to see you leave office, myself included. I still have some hope that you will stop favoring development of industrial warehouses and start doing your job because, like I said, you're public servants. I can't imagine a job in which a teacher would continuously do a crappy job and put their students in harm's way and still have a job. Or a firefighter decide they don't feel like putting out a fire that day. They would be let go right away. If you don't have the integrity or capacity to do your job and do what's right by your constituents, step down and find a job where you can still get paid by warehouses. There's a bunch of warehouse jobs hiring right now. Their turnover rate is pretty bad, and you won't get paid as much as you do right now from their donations. But hey, if it's good enough for your constituents to only have those type of jobs locally, it's more than good enough for you. Either do better or don't, but like I said, you're both up for re-election, and I have faith our community in Paris will unite for better, more responsible leadership with integrity, because we deserve much better than what we have been getting from you both. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Franco Pacheco.
Hello, council, mayor, staff. My name's Franco Pacheco, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the American Lung Association had a recent report that ranks our county number 2 in ozone and particle pollution, just behind San Bernardino County, the worst in the nation. I want to address a recent vote that was held at the March JPA a few weeks ago. I, as a Paris resident, did not know that 2 of our council members sit on the JPA board, Mayor Vargas and Rita Rogers. So both of you are not just being irresponsible here in Paris, but in the federal lands that cover the March JPA. So they are responsible for approving warehouses up and down the 215 corridor in between Moval, Riverside, and Paris. The reason I was at this particular meeting was to support our residents in Riverside, Moreno Valley, and JPA, to urge the board not to allow exemption from CEQA on current and future developments. The motion was lumped together with the environmental justice element, which is very deceptive and is comparable with our good neighbor policy, which doesn't do anything to help our residents or to protect us. Instead of listening to the hundreds of emails from residents, they approved the motion. I want to remind Paris residents that Vargas has received $33,450 from developers. Rita Rogers has received $45,500 from developers, and RABD has received $67,000 from developers. The Planning Commission has a vote tomorrow on a rezone to build yet another warehouse. If it gets denied, they will appeal to this council. This developer that goes under the name of Optimus has given $5,000 on December 14, 2019 to Rita Rogers, $1,000 to Vargas and David Rabb. On December 14, 2017, you received $5,000 from that developer. October 30th, 2019, you received another $1,500 from that developer. And on 4/8/22, you received another $4,900 from that same developer. So, of course, if it gets denied tomorrow at the Planning Commission, they can count on their 3 votes to put it through, even though we don't need any more warehouses. Thank you.
That is all.
Thank you. Item 9 is our approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on April 30th, 2024, of the City Council successor agency to the redevelopment agencies and all the other entities as listed on our agenda. If there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar. Consent calendar items are normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or the city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. We will have public comment limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on the consent calendar?
No, sir.
Council, anybody want to pull something? Well, first of all, I have a notice from staff that they want to pull item 10J, consideration to approve a sublease and operating agreement between the Paris Community Economic Development Corporation and San Jacinto College. Is this being pulled for another date or not yet? No.
Not date specific. For a
Okay,
future
thank
meeting.
you. All right, so anybody in the council have anyone thing to be pulled for separate action?
Yes, I'd like to pull items H and I for separate votes.
Just for separate votes?
Quick comment and separate vote.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so we're looking for a motion on item 10A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it for now. So I have a motion by Councilman Corona, a second by Councilman Rad. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Rad, you're up.
Yes,
Let's
first
do a-
regarding item H, separate vote, short comment. Item H is extension of time for a 7-Eleven convenience store on the corner of Paris Boulevard and Ryder Street. I voted against this item 3 years ago due to its proximity to the houses in that area, and I'll be voting against it again today. So I don't know if we want to go forward with the vote on item H or move on to item I.
No, we'll go ahead. Let's just go ahead and do this separately.
Okay.
I need a motion on H. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilwoman Nava. This is for H. Please call the vote.
Corona, Rogers, Nava, Vargas, yes. Rab, no.
Thank you. Okay, item I, Mr. Rapp.
Another separate comment. This is award a contract for a drone show at the fireworks celebration. This is above and beyond the actual fireworks celebration. I think the fireworks celebration was so great last year. We do not need to add a $30,000 drone show prior to the fireworks celebration, so I will once again be voting no on this item.
Okay, looking for any other comments? If not, a motion. Got a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
Corona, Rogers, Nava, Vargas, yes. Rab, no.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our public hearings, item 11. 11A is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding annexation of DPR 16-00012 to the city maintenance districts. DPR 16-00012 is located on Harley Knox Boulevard. This is going to be introduced by our city engineer, Mr. John Porcozimi.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Daniel Louis with Wilden will present this item before you.
Thank you. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. This item on the public hearing agenda.
Hold on one quick second, Daniel.
Mayor, we need a continuation action for item I. J. I'm sorry, J. Thank you, J.
We pulled it. We set the vote on that?
We need to continue it, huh?
Well, if the council would like to continue to a date certain.
It's not
or-
date certain.
So they're just pulling it. and
We're just
taking-
pulling it. We don't have to
Taking no
vote on
action on
that.
it, so they don't have to do a
No.
continuous necessarily.
Not a date certain item. Sorry, Mr. Daniel, go ahead.
All right, good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. This item before you is the annexation of DPR 16-00012 to the city's maintenance districts. On March 26th, the council initiated actions to hold the public hearing tonight. At this time, we would like the council to open the public hearing, and following the public hearing, if there's no majority protest, we may hold the balloted election tonight. There is one ballot per district for a total of 3 ballots, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Louis. Council, you may have any quick questions before I open up the public hearing? All right, seeing now, we're going to open up the public hearing at 7:27 PM. Madam Clerk, do I have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
All right, we will close the public hearing at 7:27 PM. Madam Clerk, can you please open up the 3 ballots?
City of Paris annexation of DPR 16-00012, Maintenance District number 84-1. The ballot is marked yes. City of Paris annexation of DPR 16-00012 to Benefit Zone 181, Landscape Maintenance District number 1. The ballot is marked yes. City of Paris, annexation of DPR 16-00012 to benefit Zone 146, Flood Control Maintenance District Number 1. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, just one clarification. On the third resolution on the agenda, there is a typographical error where the project lists CUP 22-05055, but that is a typographical error and should be DPR 16-00012.
Duly noted. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll call for a motion on the three resolutions. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
And that includes the correction as noted.
Yes. And I have a second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. 11B is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding annexation of DPR 16-00012 to CFD 2001-3, the North Paris Public Safety District. Annexation number 63, DPR 16-00012 is located at the Harley Knox Boulevard. And this will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. This will be presented by Daniel Louis from Wildan Financial.
Good evening again, Honorable Mayor and council members. This item is for the same project that we just had a public hearing on. This is to annex it into the CFD 2001-3, annexation number 63. As a condition of approval, the project is required to annex into the Public Safety District to pay for services as development occurs. So again, council has previously passed resolution of intent holding the public hearing tonight. There is waived, excuse me, the property owner has waived the right to hold the public hearing tonight, so we may go ahead and hold the election tonight and finish the proceedings with the resolutions.
Thank you. Councilor, may I have any quick questions before I open up the hearing?
Do we not need to pass the resolution calling for the election then?
We have to, after I have the hearing, we're going to call for a motion on the first resolution. Then we'll have to open the ballots. Okay. All right, we're going to open up the public hearing at 7:31. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak at this time? I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:31, and I'll call for a motion on the first resolution. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Clerk, can you open up the ballot?
Community Facilities District Number 2001-3, North Paris Public Safety of the City of Paris, annexation number 63, special tax and appropriations limit election. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll call for a motion on the second resolution. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilman Rabb. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. 11C is consideration to approve a request to continue the Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, 2024 through 2029 Consolidated Plan and the fiscal year 2024-2025 Annual Action Plan to June 11, 2024 City Council meeting. This will be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Housing, Ms. Michelle Ogawa.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We'd like to request a continuance of this item to the June 11th meeting. The item is on the agenda because the publication notice was released for this meeting this evening. So we'd like to open the public hearing and continue to June 11th.
All right, council, anybody have any quick questions? I'm going to open up the public hearing. 7:34. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
All right, I can't close the public hearing, we're going to keep it open. If there are no further questions, we are going to entertain a motion to move this hearing to June 11th, 2024 City Council meeting. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilman Rab. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Eleven D is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order approving the mitigated negative declaration number 2379 in the mitigation monitoring and reporting program and approved tentative track map TTM 021-05037, TTM 37904, and development plan review DPR 21-00002, and introduce the first reading of the proposed ordinance number next in order, approving planned development overlay PDO Zone 21-05038 to rezone 41.70 acres from R 6,000 single-family residential zone to R 6,000 single-family residential planned development overlay zone to facilitate the construction of the Pacific Emerald Project. This is a 185 lot subdivision and age-restricted 55 years and older development located at the northeast corner of Mountain Avenue and McPherson Road. And this will be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. This item will be presented by our contract planner, Matthew Evans.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that introduction, Mayor, City Council members. Matthew Evans. So before you tonight is the Pacific Emerald Project. These are the associated development entitlements that are being asked for by the applicant. They were noted in the introduction by the mayor. You have a plan development overlay, a tentative tract map, and a development plan review, as well as a mitigated negative declaration for CEQA compliance. So here you have a vicinity and zoning map. This is the site right here. This is that 41.70 acre site. It is currently zoned R6000, single-family residential. To the north, to the south, and to the east, you have all the same zoning, which is R10,000. And then to the west, you have unincorporated Riverside County, and this zoning designation here is rural residential, which is half-acre lot minimums. Here you have the plotted site plan for the development. You have 185 age-restricted units, 55 and older, on 185 individual lots. This will be a gated community with 2 access roads off of Mountain Avenue and McPherson. These red arrows kind of indicate where those access points are. So this development will be maintained by a homeowners association with CC&Rs that are required for street maintenance, perimeter wall maintenance, access gate maintenance, landscaping, age restriction enforcement, and the adjacent open space parcel. The maintenance of that parcel is included in that HOA requirement. Lots within the development range in size from 4,502 square feet to the largest lot being 13,234 square feet. The individual units range in size from 1,654 square feet to 1,945 square feet. Each unit includes a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom kitchen, living area, and 2-car garage. Here you have the conceptual landscape plan for the entire project site. You have 21% total landscaping, a total of 613 trees, 20 to 40 feet in height. These are all 36-inch box or larger. You do have some smaller trees in some of those sloped areas, but for the majority of your trees, these are all 36-inch box standard. 2 landscaped gated entrances with 48-inch box-sized trees. Those are those larger trees I was telling you about. Open space areas include clubhouse, pool, deck, putting green lot, community park with exercise equipment, landscaped paseos, a dog park, and a retention basin. Perimeter landscaping is provided along McPherson Road and Mountain Road. So here you have just that blow up of that clubhouse area and that pool with the putting green. Here's your architectural design of that clubhouse. Here are your landscaped entry features. You have a primary access gate at Mountain at Sun Park Drive and a secondary access at McPherson. That's at towards the northwest corner of the project site. The landscaped open space areas, community park, and exercise paseo. So this is kind of a blow up of what those look like. And that legend below just kind of tells you what's included in all those amenities. The project is compliant with all of the development standards and parking standards of the Paris Municipal Code, as well as the R6000 zone with the PDO overlay zone. These are your architectural renderings for each plan type. You have 3 plan types within this proposed development, including architecture for Spanish, modern farmhouse, and then one that the applicant is calling Coastal California. So for CEQA compliance, we have a mitigated negative declaration. Public agencies and property owners within 300-foot radius were notified of the project. Staff did receive one email from a nearby resident who was in favor of the project, but concerned about the proposed street improvements to McPherson and the wider street and how that might potentially attract homeless encampments. The applicant did respond and explain to the resident that the road improvements are a required part of the project approvals, and city's code enforcement obviously would handle any concerns if there was homeless encampments along the street. Comment received by the nearby resident didn't raise any additional environmental concerns. As noted above, the applicant did respond to that homeowner. Recommendation, this did go before the Planning Commission, has a recommendation to adopt resolution next in order, adopting mitigative negative declaration 2379 and the mitigation and monitoring program, as well as to approve tentative tract map 21-05037 and development plan review 21-00002, again for the Pacific Emerald project, based on the findings contained within the resolution and subject to the conditions of approval for the project, as well as to introduce the first reading of ordinance next in order approving plan development overlay PDO 21-05038 zone for the 41.7 acre project site. That concludes my presentation. The applicant doesn't have a presentation, but they are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Good project. Council, anybody have any quick questions before I open up the public hearing?
Yeah, I wonder if you could go, I'm sorry, with the slide, if you could go back, actually. Sure. Or you know what, I think that's pretty good. So there is a sidewalk, right? It's not gonna be one of those, okay.
Correct.
All right, and, I went through a staff report, it was pretty lengthy, but is there a HOA fee? There's a HOA fee, correct?
An HOA fee, so yes, they are required to, as a condition of approval for the project, which is condition of approval number 13, they are required to adopt what we call articles of incorporation, CC&Rs, and form a homeowners association. That HOA will be required to collect fees for the maintenance of all the things that we went through in the presentation and the staff report. That's those private streets, the entrances, gates, perimeter walls, all of the landscaping. That landscaping not only includes landscaping for the parks and the clubhouse area, it also includes landscaping for each individual front yard. So within this development, all the front yards will be maintained by an HOA.
Okay, great. And then, so I understand it's a 55 plus and over community, which I know we've had some in the past, but obviously as times change, they stopped doing it. But this will always be a 55 plus, correct?
In perpetuity.
Because of
is
the,
re- is
okay,
required.
okay.
Correct.
And then, so does that mean everybody that lives there, like, can somebody be 55, but their spouse is 45? Is that?
I believe so. I believe the requirement is to have one homeowner or one resident who is older than 55 residing in the home.
Okay.
I believe that's the requirement.
Okay, but we don't know
At
about
least
the
one.
children. Could the children be?
I don't believe it allows children, but it does allow a spouse.
Okay.
And that spouse does not have to be over the age of 55.
Yes.
I believe just one.
But some of that question can be directly addressed to the applicant for the detail.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, he is here.
Okay. Would the applicant mind? I mean, you know, to be honest, it's not really relevant to this. You know, just my own curiosity, but I'm just kind of curious about it. But you know, it looks like a fantastic project. I know it's much needed as we do have an aging population. Sometimes that population doesn't want to be around young families and stuff, which is understandable. But you know, I think it's going to be great for our community. That's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nava.
Mayor, I just want to go ahead and thank the applicant. This is a phenomenal project that we have here, and we're looking forward to the new neighbors we'll be receiving. And it's so good that you can hear some of our colleagues are thinking about moving there, and I don't know if they qualify just yet, but it's definitely a beautiful site. So I look forward to participating in groundbreakings and whatnot. So thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Quick comment.
Yes,
I'd like to
Councilman
echo
Brown.
the sentiments of my colleagues regarding the project. And just for in the future, I think we should start moving towards smaller houses in general. For people who are younger, you know, the people in their early 20s, 30s, that may want a smaller house and not necessarily these big mansions that cost a lot of energy to warm, heat, fuel. And I think a project like this is great, but it would be even better if it was closer to like the amenities of senior centers. Even down here, this land right across the street here, it's my ward actually, but District 3 is ideal for development in terms of walkability. You got the Metrolink station, you got the senior station, senior center, you got the library, you got City Hall here, but otherwise, great project. Thank you. You can get with Michelle Ogawa and our city manager, and we'll work on getting it together.
All right, we're going to open up the public hearing. The time is 7:46. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:46. Any more discussion, council? So I already indicated once that this is a great project. I've been working with the applicant throughout the process. Happy to have this. I believe this is going to be our first true 55 and older community. The Highland Vistas tried to do it, but they never formed an HOA to make it officially legal. So this is going to be our first history for Paris to have our 55 and older plus. And so thank you very much for bringing that in. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to call for a motion on the resolution and the first reading of the ordinance. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Rab. Please call the vote. Oh,
5-0, motion approved.
thank you very much. Congratulations. All right, item 12 is our business items, not requiring a public hearing. 12A is consideration to discuss and provide direction for a potential business license tax for distribution in industrial facilities. This will be introduced by our city manager, Ernie Reyna. Deputy City Manager.
I got a promotion. All right.
You did, and then you lost it.
I
Sorry.
lost it. Darn. I didn't act fast enough, I think is what it was, right? Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members of the City Council. So the item before you is 12A on the agenda, which is the proposed industrial warehouse slash distribution facilities business license tax. So by way of some background, just to understand how we got here and where we're at today. So back on April 9th, staff was directed to come back to council with the business license tax, but this time around as a general tax. Staff was also directed to meet with various groups to gain an understanding of what they expect out of this and where it could go. And so that group included our industrial folks at NAIOP, the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce, the Paris Parents for Clean Air, as well as the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, CCAEJ. Continuing on some background, back in 2023, this warehouse tax was directed by council to move forward. Last year, though, it was a special tax. Of course, the special tax requires a 2/3 vote by the, approval rate by the voters to move forward. Last year in November, the ballot was actually able to garner 52% of the votes, so it failed there. The special tax does require funds to be placed into a special revenue account that can only be used for the purpose stated on the ballot. So if directed to move forward this year with this particular tax as a general tax, then it would go on as a general tax. The difference being that the general tax would require a 50% plus one approval rate of the voters, and the general tax would go into the general fund. So a little bit of differences between the two types of votes there. So I mentioned that staff did meet with a few of the interest parties, so I want to kind of go over what we met with and who we met with and when. So on April 22nd and 23rd, staff met with two groups, the Paris Parents for Clean Air, as well as the CCAEJ. We wanted to gather some input from them to see what they want to hear and see out of this particular tax. And so the below is just some of the comments that we received from them, just kind of summarized. So both groups indicated that they would like to see an oversight committee formed if this measure moves forward. They would also like to see the funds spent directly just on the roads and improving the roads in and around the warehouses and not spent elsewhere, like on public safety or anything else. They also talked about setting up a tiered system. The tiered system where warehouses that were closest to schools and to homes paid an additional tax or higher rate of taxes into those sensitive areas. So that was an important point they brought up. And finally, that the warehouse tax itself should include an annual inflator, a CPI index, if you will. So then on May 2nd and May 9th, staff did meet with NAIOP to gather their input on what they were wanting to hear and see out of this as well. NAIOP is willing to have a conversation with the city to find that solution. So they're willing to work with us, but they want it to be equitable and fair. They want to make sure that the industrial industry is not footing the entire bill of this tax. They suggested that staff did investigate truck traffic distribution rates compared to other non-warehouse, non-industrial uses to determine a fair share. So staff then went to work. We with the help from our city engineer, we determined a fair share amount that we thought was fair based upon the traffic engineer model that we looked at. And so with that, what our city engineer was able to do is get an amount that kind of reduced what we originally had down to a fair share amount of 57.9%. So that was applied to the tax that we had in the prior year. And so once that was gathered and was put together by staff, we once again met again with NAIOP. We presented that information to them, but they found that was inappropriate, and they suggested using another model called AASHTO. Now AASHTO, if I can pull this up really quick, is the American, give me 1 second, I have it here, American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. And so the study they provided to staff was a study from 2012, and that rate was 41.9%. So that rate would be applied to the original tax, and I'll show you how that works in a future table. So that would mean that the amount of revenues we're getting collected per year would be less, as well as the rates, and I will go over that as well. And one other point I think I skipped over as well is that they mentioned the use of RBBD funds, Road, Bridge, and Benefit District funds, to be used on the roads, but we did explain to those that those cannot be used on maintenance. So that was one other suggestion they brought up. And so we also met with the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce on May 9th. And so one of the points they brought up is that they wanted to ensure that this did not affect the small manufacturing businesses. Those businesses include Axis and Silver Creek. They also felt that this tax should be equitable. It should be based on the amount of truck traffic the warehouses generated. They too would like to see an oversight committee. And they were concerned that the tax would create a trickle-down effect to the consumers. So they're very cognizant of that. They asked if this tax could be modeled so that it's less than 30 years, it's proposed now. And finally, they prefer not to have an inflator as well. So in terms of the target revenues and looking at these models and what was conducted last year versus this year, so we approached the city engineer and asked if the model that was presented last year is still valid, and he said yes, except that with the cost of living going up and all the CPI indexes, that it was not enough. And so I'm going to go over with you now what those target revenues would look like. So essentially, we took the model from last year, which said that over a course of 30 years, we needed to raise $120 million. And then when annualized by year, that was $4 million a year. And so some of the other components that we used for this target revenue is all of our industry in terms of the business, the building type, sorry. And so we did use completed industrial buildings in that formula. There's buildings under construction, entitled buildings, as well as projects in process. These are the options that we could use in the formula. All those that are listed there are slightly over 50 million square feet. For reference from last year, we used 3 of the 4 of those building types, which included the completed industrial buildings, the buildings under construction, as well as entitled buildings. If we did the same this year, that would be slightly over 40 million square feet this year. And again, I mentioned that 30 years, so that costs, when we applied the CPI index that we used, that was 5.44% year over year. And so that increased our cost from $120 million to $127 million this year, and increased the annual cost from $4 million to $4.2 million annually. So I'm going to get into the tables and what that would look like for this year using the business license tax. But as a reminder of what this would entail, staff is recommending that the business license tax apply to distribution and industrial facilities, just like it did last year. For reference, a distribution facility, by definition, means a business consisting primarily of receiving, temporarily storing, and subsequently distributing goods, wares, or merchandise of any kind to wholesalers or retailers. As far as industrial facility, that means either 1, a business consisting primarily of indoor or outdoor storage of large trucks, and 2, a business consisting primarily of indoor or outdoor manufacturing activity with large truck traffic. So keeping that in mind as we move forward, one of the things we went to work on next is, similar to last year, we have a table that has the first tier. And in that first tier is the same formula that we used last year, target revenues divided by square footage to get rates. And so with the updated numbers that you'll see just in a moment, the range from the high end for option 1 is 15.8 cents per square foot on the high end. It would be 8.6 cents per square foot on the low end. Okay, and this is where the second tier comes into play, and this is where we incorporate the city's staff's fair share component using the 2021 Institute of Traffic Engineers table that we modeled after. That's that 57.9% amount that we originally talked about. If we did apply that, one thing to keep in mind is that that also reduces our annual revenues down from 4.2 to 2.4 million. And if we went in that tier, that second tier, the range is now on the high end for option 1 would be 9.1 cents down to 4.9 square foot for option 4. So I want to call your attention to this table because this is expanded upon from last year. So if you look target revenue in the top, what we're looking at for this year is 4.2 million. Over to your right, it's 2.4. I'm going to go through each column so we understand there's 4 options here, much like there were last year. Each of the options includes a different building type, where option 1 is just completed industrial buildings, which is the 26.9 million square feet. So if we were to take the revenue divided by the square footage, that's how we come up with the rate of 15.7 cents. But now if you look over to the next column, you'll see that the 2.4 million per year based on fair share that staff conducted, which includes warehouse, fulfillment centers, and manufacturers. That's the 57.9% that's being applied to the rates. We now come down to 9.1. So you can go down each of the options, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I also want to call your attention to option 3, because option 3 is the most similar to what we proposed last year. So for last year, the rate was 10.7 that went to the ballot. This year, it would be 10.5 if we follow the same model. If we use the fair share that staff prepared, that is now 6.1%. And of course, option 4 would include all of the building types, including projects in process. So you would go down to 8.4 square foot or 4.9, depending on the column. So these are the two columns. And now I'm going to go into the next one, which I'll give you a little more background on that. The third tier, I should pause right here. Were there any questions? I'm sorry. Good. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is add a third tier of options. And so this came at the recommendation of NAIOP for their fair share. Again, this is using the AASHTO, American Association of Highway and Transportation Officials. That amount discounts the rates to 41%, 41.9% of our original total. Keep in mind, if we went this route, our revenues now would go down from 4.2 to 1.7, almost 1.8 per year. And the options for this range go from 6.6 cents down to 3.5%. So I'm now going to show you that table and what that looks like with all three tiers in there. Okay, again, top column going across target revenues, depending on the option that we choose, 4.2, 2.4, or 1.7. Again, the first column, proposed tax rates, is as if we did that last year with the equivalent amounts there. Second column is staff's prepared fair share, which is using the 2021 ITE table from 9.1 cents down to 4.9. And finally, the last column now is the one recommended by NAIOP, where we would collect 1.7 million in taxes per year. This is based on the AASHTO, the 2012 AASHTO study, 41.9% of proposed, where you can see option 1 is 6.6%, going down to 3.5% for option 4. So I'm going to leave that there for just 1 second. Again, calling to mind, last year we went with option 3. The equivalent this year, if we do nothing, no fair share, just do the proposed tax rate as calculated last year, 10.5, 6.1 using the staff's fair share amount, and 4.4 using NAIOP's amount. But again, you can see the various options that we have for you. There's a total of 12 options with 3 tiers of whatever direction the council would like to go in. I'll pause again there if there are any questions. Yes?
Regarding the difference between the ITI, 2021 ITI study and the 2012 AASHTO study, maybe NAIOP or somebody could, what's in 2012 did they base that on? Because I know that was probably before a lot of the e-commerce started really taking off, a lot of the trucks. What's the difference between that and 2021? We're more kind of where we're at now in terms of there's a lot more trucking for e-commerce. Is there any way we can explain, hash those the differences out between the two?
Sure. I'll turn it over to John if he wants to answer that one.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Rapp. Primarily, the AASHTO publication is consolidation of geometric design for highway design. And they also include some factors that NAIOP included is basically for design of pavement structural section. ITE is very relevant and current, and is based on current trend. And what we have actually in Paris right now, the warehouses, manufacturing, and pretty specific on the land uses. That's why we recommend to use the ITE percentages.
All right, great. Moving on.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Council,
I apologize.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah. I had mentioned to our city manager about WRCOG had just released the new Nexus study, which contains all of the trips from trucks, cars, buses, the whole thing. That was just released last week. Have we had a chance to look at that, to compare that with either one of these studies?
Thank you, Councilwoman Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem. That's correct. So that, actually, that study is under review, and we all reviewing all the cities, and we're commenting on it. There are different formulas and studies done as well. And that one, the RCOG that you mentioned, is certain specific area that they did actual counts on, but it's still subject to review.
Yeah, but I know they did it for each region, each city, and all of that. I think that might have some bearing. I'm a little concerned because of the low turnout of the last November. We all supported this measure. We all wanted it to pass. Unfortunately, the voters didn't come through for us. So I want to make sure that when we go back again, we have the right data, the right facts, and we can get the voters to support that based on all of the studies that are available and taking the most reasonable one that people can understand. A lot of this might be a little complicated for some people to understand. So I want to make sure that we get it right this time.
And just to expand on that, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, what we base all our traffic studies on is ITE. We don't use the other public hearing, just to make it consistent throughout the region.
But we could take some information from the Nexus study as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we did comment on it, and we're providing those to RCOG, as you just mentioned.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, in terms of timeline and where we stand with everything, staff did send out some notices to our industrial partners last week regarding today's meeting. Next step, if this moves forward, City Council would have until July 30th to approve the resolutions that would go onto the ballot, which would require a 2/3 vote, so a 4-to-1 vote. All these documents would have to be submitted to the Riverside County Register of Voters by August 9th of this year. And just as a reminder, Election Day is November 5th of this year. In terms of budget, I'm sorry, question?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify one thing. That 4-1 vote is a vote of the council.
Yeah.
Just to clarify,
Yes, thank you. Good point. Thank you.
I don't know who else the vote would be with.
In terms of budget impact and what the cost would be, this year would be a little less expensive than last year simply because it is a general election year. Last year, this was the only measure on the ballot for Riverside County, and so the cost was a little bit higher. I believe it was $110,000. This year, the Register of Voters estimated $1 per voter, and if all voters turned out, really conservative vote estimate is $37,000. But staff would also need to procure a public relations firm to assist with flyers, social media postings, town hall meetings, stuff like that. That would be about $45,000. So in total, the ask for that would be $85,000 if this moves forward.
Ernie, I'm sorry, I have a question
Yes.
on that. If I just do the math, 37 plus 45, that equates to 82,000. So
Right.
where's the $3,000 discrepancy?
Just round it up.
Okay,
Just because,
got it.
I wasn't sure what the cost would be exactly, so I just rounded it up to 85. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
good catch. So finally, in terms of recommendation, what staff is seeking today is a few things. So we're asking that the City Council review and discuss the information provided on the potential business license tax for distribution, for distribution and industrial facilities, and provide direction as to whether to move forward with the tax placing on the November ballot, including direction on the types of uses, tax rate, the CPI escalator with or without a cap, and/or the size of buildings as part of the tax measures. I do want to note before I conclude as well that staff did receive 3 emails after the agenda was posted. The first email came from Bill Blankenship, and in Bill's email, he was just summarizing the fact that if this moves forward, this should be spent on maintenance and not in the general fund, should be based on fair share, should include all buildings, and he believes that more time is needed to actually conduct the study. The second one was from Jerry Sepulveda from the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce. He believes there should be a special tax, but also says that more time is required to make a decision. And the third one is from Chris, and I apologize, I'm going to mess up his name, Quazari from Orperion Group. He believes that the industrial group should not pay for the entire amount, and not the $4 million, of course, but down to maybe $2 million. So that is my presentation. Mr. Mayor and City Council, I'm here for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Ernie.
Yes.
All right,
I do have one additional question.
sure, go ahead.
In regard to the special tax versus the general tax, there's no limitation on where the money can be spent with the general tax. That's why the concern is for the special tax. Is that correct?
That is correct. The money would go into the general fund, and from there, it's in the general fund. So, yeah.
So the only way we can actually guarantee that the money can be spent on roads through the perpetuity of the tax would be with the special tax.
Yeah, but I'm going to defer to our city attorney just to answer that one, just to make sure I'm not mistaking.
That's correct. A special tax would require you to identify the purpose. It would also, as Ernie mentioned, it would require 2/3 voter approval as well. General tax, like you said, spent on any permissible municipal purpose, and it would go into the general fund and would require only 50% plus 1, simple majority essentially of the voters to approve.
And then from a legal standpoint, with a general tax, we couldn't set up a separate account just for roads, just for maintenance, just for the damage that the trucks are doing.
Well, the council, the money comes into the city, the tax collections come to the city, and the council has the authority to, on its own, budget those funds to whatever projects. So for example, if the council decides to spend $2 million of the tax in any given year on roads, and that's perfectly fine. The key is that you can't, to make it a general tax, you can't restrict the expenditures in the ballot measure, the tax measure, the ordinance itself. That's the
Her
key.
question is, can you create a separate account with a general tax? And that answer is no, I'm not a lawyer.
Well, the council could manage its money however it wants to. It could put it in a separate fund, but generally speaking, actually, to really answer your question, to keep it simple, you would just put it in the general fund and identify the fund separately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But as council members come and leave, a different council may want to spend that money for something different. Is that correct?
Correct, correct.
Okay. That was one of my concerns, is to making sure that the money goes for the purpose that we're trying to get the roads repaired. The damage to the roads has been astronomical with the trucks, with the rain, and just the wear and tear. And to maintain the roads, is there a way, if we put it on the ballot for November, instead of waiting to do another special tax again, with maybe more lobbying and maybe coming up with an agreement with NAOP where they would not oppose us, would the special tax pass in another year? Those are my concerns.
Okay, those are valid.
I want to make sure the money goes to where it's needed.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, council, let me open up or ask for public comment, and then we can do our deliberations, okay, if you guys don't mind. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
Yes, sir.
Is there a lot?
We have 6.
Okay, so call the first 3. The first person, if you can come to the podium, the other 2 can sit in front where we have the reserve markers, please.
Jillian Menez, Jairo Carbajal, Carla Cervantes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jillian Menez. I'm a resident of Paris, and I'm also representing the Community Coalition Paris Neighbors in Action. I'm here to voice support for this warehouse tax. This tax will be a step in the right direction, one that will promote accountability and will offer real community benefit from the warehouses all throughout our town. On behalf of Paris Neighbors in Action, I request that the council enact a community oversight committee to oversee the funds generated and to ensure that the tax monies are spent in a manner which will truly provide benefit to those of us most impacted. I don't think we should push off this tax, as Rogers, I think you're kind of asking for a special election. I think a good solution might be a community oversight committee. I also request that the council goes forward with the staff recommendation for the inclusion of all warehouses completed, under construction, and entitled, as well as raise the rate maximum ceiling to 15.8 cents per square foot, as to give the council breathing room when you decide on the actual rate later. Because we do know that figure you're voting on today is not going to necessarily be the actual, it will be the ceiling. So that's important to give you guys some space. Over the past 3 years, these warehouses have only paid, on average, $5.2 million per year in taxes. The estimated cost to repair our roads due to the semi-damage is $4.2 million per year. At the last council meeting, you guys voted to hire a new traffic cop specifically to enforce those truck routes. Mayor Vargas, you boasted to me that costs $500,000 per year. That traffic cop is only necessary due to the overabundance of warehouses and the semi-trucks that go on our inadequate streets. With just those figures, the warehouse's taxes only give about $500,000 per year per year to benefit the city beyond cleaning up their mess. This is not figuring in the burden that their emissions have on the personal health costs of our residents and the strain on our health system. That is immeasurable. As it stands, the warehouses are not paying a fair share of taxes to the city, and they're placing undue burden on our residents and taxpayers like me. The last time this council held discussion to implement a similar tax, the concerns from NIOP were that the warehouse businesses will be de-incentivized to conduct business in Paris. We have 13 vacant warehouses in Paris. There is obviously no longer a high demand for them, nor warehouse work. Another concern from NIOP was that the logistics industry is in an economic downturn and likely faces recession. They argue this is a bad time for them. If this is true, then I argue that it's even more important to place this tax, as we don't want to incentivize a failing industry to take root in Paris. Councilman Rabb, I think this should concern you, particularly as you have multiple times in the past expressed fears of Paris becoming Detroit. If we keep inviting a dying industry into our city limits, then we are on the fast track to that destination. For these reasons and 100 more, it is extremely important that you vote this.
Thank you.
Jairo Carbajal.
Hello, Council. My name is Jairo Carbajal. I'm here representing Paris Neighbors in Action as well. I am in favor for this warehouse tax as well as the maximum limit, as she said, because I assume you guys are going to lower it or something, but I would hope you guys pass it, but that's it. I guess I'm in favor for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello again, my name is Carla Cervantes, and I believe this warehouse tax will be extremely beneficial for the city. Don't worry, Councilmember Rita Rogers, the roads can be prioritized. If you're nervous as to how these funds could be spent, maybe we can have some community input. We could give you all the ideas and you could take the credit for it. We don't care as long as things get fixed. This is a really great idea. Last time it was brought up, it was for repairing the roads only. So it's great that this time around it would be a general tax so that it could be going into multiple areas that need it the most. We could have a solution to air pollution issues that have been caused and created by the diesel trucks. I just want to clarify that we, Paris Parents for Clean Air, as well as Paris Neighbors in Action, did not say we wanted it to be distributed or prioritized for warehouse streets. Maybe there was some confusion there, Ernie, but we did not say that. We would want a public committee to oversee the funds, if approved, to go to where they need it most, where we need it most. In 2012, we didn't have as many warehouses as we do now, not even half as many. Property owners are not exempt from inflation rate taxes, and warehouses that sell products depend on consumerism and do not stay with the prices of 2012 because inflation has benefited their profits. So they need to pay inflation rates as well. These warehouses didn't show up out of nowhere. Some of you approved them, and some were approved before your time. But now we are seeing all the negative effects, and we should have, at the very least, a tax to help repair the community's areas that are being destroyed by these warehouses. This did get voted in when it was up for special election. If it had been the 50%, it would have passed. This time around, if it's on the November ballot, we would see an extremely large turnout. And last time, there was lots of misinformation being spread by warehouse developers because they don't want to pay. So they make sure that people get confused. So they count on misinformation, which is where we come in. We don't get paid to inform our neighbors or community members. We do it because we care about our city. We care about our right to clean air, and we care about the lands that are still left and need to be protected. I know that's something new to you guys, but we really do care about our community. We don't get paid for this stuff. We're coming here because we're advocating for our right to clean air. It's really, really important for us. The American Lung Association, like mentioned before, we have the second most polluted area for air pollution in the entire country. It's getting really, really bad here, and you guys will be historically known as either somebody who did something better or did something worse, because these cancer rates, they're gonna start coming up a lot, and your names are gonna be here, and we're gonna remember you guys for either one or another way. And if you guys can sleep at night, that's fine. I personally wouldn't be able to, because I do have children that are being affected by these warehouse pollutions. And even if you don't have kids that are that age, they're affecting all of us. We do need better roads. We need better recreational opportunities here. We need better jobs here. So this is a great tax because right now they've been doing, the warehouse developers have been doing the absolute bare minimum, and we deserve better than that. So I hope you guys approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the next three, please.
Franco Pacheco, Bill Blankenship, Joaquin Castillejos.
Hello, Franco Pacheco with Paris Parents for Clean Air. This tax is a small step in the right direction in helping our communities. And this is a long problem that has been hurting our communities, is overdevelopment of warehouses. These warehouses have become greedy, and now it's costing us way more than the small benefit of a staffing agency job. Our roads are a mess, and we're the second most polluted county in the nation, according to the American Lung Association, just behind San Bernardino. I went over the video last meeting, and we allocated extra money for an officer to patrol trucks from warehouses and to use the correct truck routes. This means that these industrial projects are directly costing us in another way, that these trucks aren't going to use the correct routes. They're going to go to residential streets, neighborhoods, which we have been telling you guys. And tax like this will help us bring back those roads and bring back sidewalks. And we did discuss this with Ernie, that we don't want it just to be used for roads, but maybe we can be used for school buses, because getting in and out of Paris during when school's out of session, it's a nightmare. And I feel like that can be mitigated with school buses for our kids in both Val Verde and the Paris School District. Also, I urge this council to do the maximum for these warehouses, because it's been a long time coming that they've been profiting off the backs of this lower middle class that we have here in Paris. And we don't want to continue to see our children suffer from the immense air pollution that has been going on this past decade. Also, we would like to see the tax be used for helping clean up the air. So planting more trees and more community areas where health would be a priority, right? So I just want to let you guys know, just to approve the maximum tax for the warehouses. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, members of staff. My name is Bill Blankenship, representing NAIOP Inland Empire Chapter. As was reported this evening, we did meet with staff on a couple different occasions and had some give and take conversations back and forth via email and phone. The logistics industry is an industry that provides much to the community. There is a tremendous amount of development in the community, a tremendous amount of commerce in the community, and good paying jobs that come with this industry, as you all know, and see the benefits every day throughout the community. The industry provides infrastructure, provides tree planting programs, provides monies for parks, our schools, and with very little impact to our parks and schools, of course. As you heard from staff tonight, you heard what the industry is proposing. I think clearly more time is needed. The industry wants to pay its fair share and is willing to pay its fair share, but I think there are some questions on what is fair share. Tonight you heard from others that the industry should pay some maximum, some 100%. That is not the industry's fair share. And we ask that the council take consideration of that. We don't believe in a general tax. A general tax will go into the general fund, as you heard this evening from your legal counsel and from staff and from questions from council members. And those funds could be used for anything. And if you look at the maintenance schedule in your staff report for the roads, if this were to go through as proposed, in year 10 of the program, year 12 of the program, there would be a $10 million need or cost, and a future council would have to decide to pull that money from the general fund to use for maintenance. And we're just concerned that that may never happen. The likelihood of that, 10 years from now, priorities of a council change, new council members come, they don't remember this discussion, and those funds just don't happen for what they were originally sold to the community, sold to the industry to pay for. So we're opposed to that. We also believe that all projects should pay for this, not only the operating warehouses, but the warehouses under construction, the ones that have been approved, as well as the ones that are in process today. But over the span of 30 years, there will be many warehouses that will come online, and there needs to be a way to bring them into this system as well so that they participate. The community, that's a fairness factor. The community needs those revenues, and it's important that the city takes advantage of that future development. The city also wants to see that whatever study is conducted, that there is a fair share and there's nexus and proportionality. So I respectfully ask
Thank you. Anybody else, Madam Clerk?
Joaquin Castillejos to follow Scott Hildebrandt.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Joaquin Castillejos. I'm representing the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, CCAEJ, and thousands of residents across Riverside County and in Paris. Residents in Paris who have long questioned the benefits of warehousing, but haven't questioned the impacts that they felt every day in the streets, in their homes, in the air that they breathe. And this tax is just a beginning to address those concerns. Paris, according to Cacao Enviro screens, has some of the highest percentages of, has the highest rates of asthma, of respiratory diseases, of low birth weights than other counties, other census tracts throughout the states. Why not have these industries pay their fair share to address these concerns? Not only that, but warehouses, according to some studies, cause over 90% of all street damage, not excluding damages by weather, but caused by automobiles, trucks, heavy duty vehicles cause most of the damage. Why not have them pay the fair share? And with all these concerns about where the money is going to go, putting it in the general fund, not putting it, a simple solution to that would be putting it, advocating or putting into this ballot measure a community oversight committee that could give their opinions, that could be part of this process of where this money is going. Because not always, maybe we could put it into parks, into schools, like other suggestions, buses, into air filters for nearby residents, for other programs to clean up the air. Just recently, the Air Quality Management District had to extend their PM 2.5 attainment plan because they weren't able to get to PM 2.5 levels that they had promised, and they had to extend that. Our levels are getting higher and higher, and there's nothing that's happening to fix that. And as a city, we need to guarantee that our residents have clean air, a clean environment that they could live in. Aside from that, a tier system would also be beneficial for this ballot measure. Warehouses that are in industrial zone don't impact communities as much as the ones that are right next to homes, schools, parks, or warehouses that choose to build next to schools. If they want to build next to schools, homes, and parks, then you have to pay more, and you have to pay for those damages for those trucks that are going to have to pass next to homes, that are going to have to pass next to schools, and we need to address those levels of impact by the different sizes of warehouse, by the proximities of these warehouses, and to finish off my comment, we need to make sure that these warehouses do pay their fair share, and these fair share shouldn't be based on what the industry wants, because of course the industry is going to want to increase their profits as much as they can, but we need the fair share to be based on what.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Excuse me. Scott Hildebrandt with Albert A. Webb Associates. We were part of the consulting team that met with the city to review this latest proposal. Some of the questions that were brought up tonight about the various studies that were done, I think what the big takeaway is here is these were first steps. The ITE methodology described by Mr. Prokazemi does establish the volume of trucks. It does not establish where those trucks go. And when you look at the listing of streets that was used to come up with the $126 million program that you are considering, you would really need to sit here and look at how that's distributed. And then with the study that was done in 2012, and just to be clear, that was a study done, commissioned by the city of Redlands, that was then vetted through their engineering department, was acted on by their city council, and then approved for implementation. They used AASHTO methodology, and that AASHTO methodology looked at the distribution of all various types of vehicles, just not trucks, and then it looked at the damage it causes to a road. So actually we're talking volume of traffic and then how it damages a road. So when we're looking at the amount of time that we had, as Mr. Reyes' presentation said, we were We met on the 2nd of May, and then again on the 9th. And in between that time, Mr. Prokazmi provided us with some information. That doesn't give you a whole lot of time to review a study at that point. So what we did is we did take a look at what was out there and available, what had actually been prepared and approved and vetted. And so this is how we came up with the 42%. Now, the Redlands study and using that AASHTO methodology also looked at various types of roads, arterial roads down to collectors, which is what your program is looking at as well. The numbers differ as you go from an arterial road to a collector. So there's still some things that need to be vetted out. Unfortunately, with the amount of time that between city staff and NAOP to look at, there just wasn't enough time. So if we're given the amount of time, I do believe that we can both come to an agreement as to what that actual percentage is, and we would look forward to continuing to work with staff to get there. Because as you saw from what Mr. Reyes presented, where basically the difference is 60% to 40% in trying to find a way to get there, which I know we can. We just have to have the time to do it. And I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that 2012 study if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Thank you. All right, council, go back for deliberation. Councilman Rabb?
Yes, perhaps Mr. Reyna could answer this question. Do we have the turnout data for the November 2023 special election?
Yes, it's in the staff report. Let me pull it up for you, which I have here. So the total vote was about 3,000, it was 3,089. Garnered 52% of the vote, so we had slightly over 1,500 people actually vote yes, but the total vote was about 3,100 in total.
Okay. And in terms of the total voting age population of Paris, do we have that number? I think it's about 20,
The number I was given was 37,000.
37,000?
Yeah.
Okay. And so 1,500 got us 52% of the vote. In terms of if we were to get over the 2/3 threshold, do we have that number? Would it be like about 2,800 or?
If we use the 3,000 number, or if we use?
Yeah, we used the people that showed up last November.
Yeah, that would have been, let me give you that number really quick. It would have been something, it was pretty close. It was 2,000 some.
Okay.
Let me get that for you. Yeah, it's about 2,000.
Okay. And then just a few questions regarding the November election. I know there's going to be a series of ballot initiatives. I know RCTC came and they were discussing potentially putting a increase on the sales tax for the roads in various areas of the county. Is that moving forward this November? Do you know?
I'm not aware, but perhaps either a state attorney or anybody. I'm not.
We haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah.
When's the vote for that?
It's coming up.
Coming up. And in terms of, I did a search on the propositions that are coming up. It's looking like at least 8 to 10 have already qualified for the upcoming ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in
That's
terms
what
of,
it's- yeah.
Mr. Koo, I remember when we were discussing this last year, we were discussing the differences between a general and a business tax or special tax. And if I remember correctly, we couldn't bring forward a general tax during there was no election in terms of primary or general election. Is that correct?
Correct. So the only way you could bring a general tax to essentially an election in which a council member is not up for election, which would be odd-numbered years essentially, the city would have to declare fiscal emergency essentially.
Okay. And in terms of the general tax, we're prohibited from also bringing it up. Say, for instance, we have the June 2026, there'll be governor, senator primary. If we were to bring it up, we could have brought it up in this last February presidential primary. We're prohibited from bringing to those.
Correct, unless we make the finding.
Okay.
To clarify, it'd be a unanimous finding. That's a constitutional requirement.
And I also have a question for Mr. Rayner, just staff in general. When we were moving forward on this ballot initiative, and perhaps Councilman Corona and Mayor Vargas could help me because I know you guys are on the subcommittee, did any community groups reach out to you in terms of canvassing to get out to vote for this particular agenda item in terms of, hey, we see this very important measure coming forward. We want to get out there and knock on doors and ensure that this measure passes so that the warehouses pay their fair share. Is that Councilman Corona?
Oh, so I'm not sure what subcommittee you're talking about. I don't think I'm on
I
any.
believe there was a subcommittee generated to write the ballot initiative.
Oh, you're right, you're
Yes,
right.
and so-
Yeah, you're right. I don't think that we had any organization reach out to us at that time.
So the people that spoke today, none of them said, hey, Councilman Corona, we have this very important, we want to sock it to these warehouses. We want to show Rogers,
No.
mayor, and
Okay, you guys had your,
Hold on.
excuse
Hold on.
me, you had your
No,
time to talk.
No, at that time, there was no organization coming out to us.
Okay.
At that time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes or no? So, my big concern is, and I, approved this, I was behind it, I think we all were last time, and that was for a specific special tax. Just because if we establish a, oversight committee, the oversight committee does not dictate how the money is spent. The oversight committee just is there to make sure the money is being spent that it was designed for. On a general tax, the language is the funds could be used for repairing roads, not to specify strictly roads only. And that's why we really push for a special tax, so that it is specifically for repairing the roads. And that's how I feel comfortable that we can ensure that the money is going to be there years to come. We all can't be here on the dais. There's term limits, so what happens in 5 to 10 years from now is going to be a whole different council. And if it's not a specific tax or a special tax, the money can be used for anything, virtually anything, and not continue to fix our roads. So I really want a tax, but I would rather see a special tax in place. There is no big rush for this. There's time to be talking about it and work this out. I believe in fair share for everybody. I keep hearing about the CFDs and the fact that RBBD, that's the correct acronym, can be used for, I forget the terminology, but it's not just for potholes, but if you have a segment in the street, that RBB funds can be used to cut out and replace segments of these roadways.
RBBD funds are, primarily used for roadway improvements, correct. But it can
Right.
be used for
So-
not necessarily maintenance.
Well, this
of
would not be,
widening.
what I'm being told is not in reference to maintenance. You're replacing a section of the roadway, and RBBD funds could be used for that.
That is correct, Mayor.
So to say that we can't use RBBD funds is not accurate. So I'm glad to hear that we can actually use RBBD funds. That's about it. I do, if we started at a lower threshold as far as the percent on the tax, it's fine for me. I do believe in escalators, but I also believe there should be a cap as well, too. Can't keep on going up and up and up and up forever. But there definitely needs to be an escalator in place with a cap somewhere in there. Councilman Corona, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just want to thank Ernie and the rest of the staff for bringing this forward to us. I know last year that the voters were given the option to vote for a special tax. Although it was a very low turnout, which I do agree, which every non-presidential or governor election is going to be a low turnout. But with the heavy opposition that was really meant to confuse the voters, it still got the majority of those who voted for it, who tend to be more fiscally conservative voters. They still voted in favor of it for majority. Now, as with the special tax, I do agree. I do agree that it would be nice if it was a special tax that that way we know where it's going to be allocated. I don't think realistically it's going to get the 2/3, and I think by voting on that, we're kind of just automatically shutting it down. So I'm not really in favor for that. There are things that we could do. Other cities have done a general tax. It's very common with their 1% sales tax, which I'm not advocating right now. But what they do that they do a pledge, right? So they'll all sign a paper in public and they'll publicly say it. Now if we're saying, well, what about in 30 years? That'll be a different council. Well, but those will be people that the residents voted for, right? So this will be a whole new council, but those are
Can
people.
can you reiterate what you're saying about it, the pledge?
So I believe City of Hemet, they did it, and they did their 1% sales tax, and they just kind of wrote, they were just on a piece of paper, like, will you pledge that this money will be allocated for its intended use? Right, just, just kind of
Is
publicly.
that, hold,
It's not legal,
I
but,
got,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, but it's it's something that the voters are going to see to say, hey, were you honest or not? It's really up to the voters to decide who comes up here. Now, I do agree that it needs to be for the roads. We know that our roads are being damaged, and who's fronting the cost right now is the taxpayers. The taxpayers, as of right, if we don't do anything right now, it stays the same. It's the taxpayers that are fronting the majority of this cost, and a lot of the damage is being done by the trucks, as John kind of pointed out. It's a lot of damage by the trucks that aren't, and I totally agree, right? Our residents are also using the roads too, but oftentimes the areas that see the most damage are areas where the heavy trucks are coming in and out. And we could have a separate conversation on the benefits and negatives about the warehouse, but I'm just specifically talking about the roads is being damaged, and it's something that I want to believe, and I don't know if this is the case, right? Because a lot of developers are and the people who operate the warehouses, they're not from our community, but I want to believe that they want their truck drivers to also drive on safe roads. And it's as my father was a truck driver, and there was some areas where it was unsafe, and it's something that I think that it needs to get done. I think we all kind of agree on that. How we get there is kind of what we're all kind of having a discussion about. So there are different options we have as well too if we were to move forward to reduce confusion to the voters. Last time NAIOP did a great job of confusing our voters. I gotta give them credit on that one. But it was, hey, you're gonna be taxed, and they put some lady with a single mother with a kid and make it seem like, oh, the cost of diapers are already up and you're gonna be taxed. And reality is, I mean, it's we're spreading out the cost through all California residents, or even throughout the whole nation that are paying, to fees to Home Depot or whatnot. Another conversation, I think I brought this up last time, is do we exclude, I don't want to say the more beneficial ones, but the ones that are contributing the most to our cities in terms of sales tax, do we exclude them? Do we make sure, and I think it's important that we make sure it's not targeted at the small businesses that fall under industrial. So do we make it 100,000 square feet or more, that those are the ones that are included, and exclude the smaller mom and pop shops, the flooring company, the people that have the bread business and stuff like that. So I think we do have some I guess questions to kind of ask ourselves. I'm even open if it's a difference between this getting on the ballot or not, to actually we don't go to 30 years, we go to 12 years or 16 years, but somehow a multiple of 4, so that way, when it does expire, it expires on a presidential year, so that way that council has a decision whether to move forward or not. So these are all just questions. I mean, I do agree with you, Mayor, that we don't have to decide fully right now, but I think it's important that our staff does get some direction of where to go.
Yeah.
But I'm absolutely in favor of this. I think the voters, I think we leave it up to the voters what they want.
Well, that's who ultimate,
That's it.
that's who are ultimately going to vote on, and there's no either way. And you brought some good points. I like that, and I like the idea of not necessarily having to go the full 30 years. I have to. Give me 1 second. I have to reiterate. I think Councilman Rabb brought it up, but I am concerned about that RCTC sales tax that we're going to be voting on pretty soon here in the future. The community at large has supported it when it comes to the monkey surveys, whatever they call the telephonic surveys. My point that I'm concerned about is the City of Paris has not had a tax increase in I don't know how long. When I moved here in 2004, it was 7.75, and it still is 20 years later. And all our neighboring cities, some of them are up to 10%, 8.7 something, 9%. We have never raised the tax. This will hit our taxpayers, our residents now, and that'll be, if it passes, that's going to jump our tax rate to 8.75. But my point is, it's going to be on the ballot the same. if we were trying to rush this and get this on now for November, at the same time the RCTC sales tax, that may be a hindrance because they're going to see a 1% sales tax going on their dollar, and then here comes Paris with another tax, and even though it's not for them, and I'm happy that these communities are going to help us push it. Yes, NAIOP did an awesome job. I told them as well too. They confused the heck out of our voters, but if we take our time, work this out with this fair share, listen to these others, I'm not pickle tink with NAIOP or this, I didn't write the acronym down. What did you call it? NASUT?
Oh,
ASTO? Huh?
ASTO?
ASTO, yeah, watch how you say that. ASTO. When you read 2012, this is 2024. I'm not pickle tink about hearing something that would occurred in 2012. That's a little confusing. I didn't hear about I heard, that's the one that they use in Redlands?
That was the.
I heard about Redlands, never heard the word 2012. So we got to go back, look at that studies. Mayor Pro Tem brought up the Nexus study. I want to see that too, or get some feedback from our city engineer when that part is done. Again, like I said, and then Malcolm reducing the amount. That's great, but I think there's still more time. We need to talk all these different points out and get this down packed because it's important. Councilwoman Nava.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some questions for clarification. Currently, as we're operating, what budget do we pull from in order to conduct our emergency road repairs?
So the majority of it starts with CIP. So if they're bigger projects, they're going to, as our Director of Finance in a few minutes will come up, you'll see that a lot of that's drawn from the CIP, which draws from various sources, DIF funds, Measure A, gas tax. We exhaust whatever we can, and then whatever cannot fund the rest will come from the general fund. So ultimately, the general fund will be the last source that pays for that.
Thank you for clarifying. And that goes to my point as well, because I know we have concerns whether it's a special tax or a general fund. I mean, legally, when has our city turned away money that's rightfully belonging to our city, right? And in this case, we petition and request for grant funding, et cetera. And when we have the opportunity to bring additional funds, it's disappointing that this time around we're finding ways to turn around on that. And to that point, Clara, if you could briefly just explain to us, because we rely a lot on our sales tax. However, you've been in several discussions where there's sales tax sharing agreements. Could you please highlight a little bit on that? And the reason why I'm asking is because we need to have a plan in order for us to have a way to diversify our revenues. If this were to go into effect, it would truly jeopardize our operations as we stand now, because if you could please add on to that.
Sure, Councilwoman Nava. Currently, at the request of the governor, the League of California Cities has put together a city manager sales tax group to discuss the reform of the Bradley-Burns sales tax. And this is generated from an increase in e-commerce, where cities like us that have more warehouses than maybe coastal cities or smaller cities that don't have e-commerce with point of sales. So the conversations have been where the point of sale, should be allocated to destination cities where where the purchase is coming from. A few years ago, that was 3 years ago, the destination cities were wanting 100% of the sales tax generated from e-commerce warehouses. That didn't go well with the cities like us, who rely heavily on e-commerce sales tax. So now the conversations are, how is that split going to look like for equity, to create a balance as to who spends the money, where the tax should go to. So that hasn't been resolved, but those are conversations that are happening right now. It's not to say it's going to happen right away, but those are conversations where this group has been tasked to come up with a solution on how to equitably split that e-commerce sales tax. In regards to the shared sales tax, there is a bill out there that the city is opposing regarding the no longer allowing shared sales tax agreements with any warehouses or any company or so. That still hasn't been finalized, but that's still lurking around there, and I know the league is also opposing that bill.
Thank you so much, City Manager. So all that to say is that we need to continue to find ways to diversify our revenues here for the city because that's truly important. And bottom line, we know the roads, we hear the complaints. As an elected official serving my community, I intend to continually listen and respond, as was mentioned during our public comments today. And we hear it. We're known to be driving on the moon, right, with the craters and the potholes. And I don't like that stigma. And I truly feel that not only are we fighting for just a simple quality of life, safe roads, but on top of that, it's pulling teeth because now we have organizations who are mailing out misleading mailers when we're just trying to find ways to solve the current issue at hand. Not exceeding expectations, but just fixing and remedying our deteriorated roads. So those are just my thoughts, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to make sure we find a solution to fix the issue at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah. You know, when we put this on the ballot in November of last year, we were very optimistic. We heard all the complaints about the roads, the warehouses. We were optimistic. We thought it was going to pass. Unfortunately, it didn't. So we had to learn from what we did wrong at that time. The voters didn't come out. We had an 8% turnout. And unfortunately, the majority of voters said no to the tax. A lot of that no, pardon me? Here we go. 3,085 voters voted. 1,476 voted not to tax the warehouses. 1,609 voted to tax them. Okay, it didn't make the percentage that we needed to pass. The measure failed.
Okay,
The
guys,
measure-
we're not here to have a discussion here, okay? You guys made your comments, now we're having our discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. The measure failed. A lot of it was because of misleading brochures that NAIOP sent out. We're all in agreement for that. They did a heck of a job defeating the measure. But now, because of that, it didn't pass. So now they've met with our staff. They want to look at the different studies. The WRCOG just came out with a very expensive Nexus study. It's the first one that's been done since almost 13 years. I think if they come back, NAIOP, and work with staff, look at the different studies, including the new Nexus study that WRCOG put out that just came out last week. We just voted for that to come out. I think they maybe could have a meeting of the mind where we could come up with something where NAIOP would not oppose it, not send out those deceptive measures and brochures, and it might pass the voters. You are willing to work this time. You weren't there last November. Maybe you didn't know about it. But you're saying you're committed to go out this time and lobby for it. That's going to be a big help. So let's look at what didn't happen the last time, how we can repair it this time. If we can come to some kind of meeting of the minds where NAIOP doesn't send out those brochures, where we have the community groups that are willing to go out and lobby for this to pass, and then we go ahead and look at it that way, then maybe we have some success. It's entirely up to the voters. We can't speak for the 20 or 36,000 people. They have to come to the polls or send in their ballot on their own. They didn't do it last year. 91% of our registered voters didn't show up in November. But how do we correct that now? We all want this to pass. We're all here. NAIOP is saying they're willing to pay, but they want to pay their fair share. They don't want to pay 100%. I understand that. They want to pay for the damage that they do, not the buses, not the other cars on the road, not the weather. So why don't we look at that from that point, have staff come back, meet with NAIOP again, go through the studies again, see if we can come through a meeting of the road, and then come back and review this and look at it from a different perspective.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure everybody understands, we're not voting here on anything tonight, so this is just recommendations. Can you go back to the one slide that we're going to make our comments on that shows all the items? That goes towards the end?
The recommendation?
Yeah. Okay, right there. All right. Councilman Rad, did you have something?
Yes, I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming out and speaking. I do agree with a lot of the individuals. The truck traffic is destroying our roads. It is an issue that needs to be addressed. I agree with my colleagues. We need to act on it. However, I do believe that we should do a business license tax. Now, I don't question the sentiment of anybody on this dais, any of the staff members, any of the community members. We really want to direct the general funds to the fixing of our roads. However, I cannot speak for 30 years from now. 30 years ago was 1994. There's probably been about 25 people that have served on this council from 94 to now. If you go back to 84 to when I came out of this council in 2014, you probably had about 35 people. A lot of people served one term, people served 11 months, were recalled, resigned, died. So we can't speak for people who are going to be on this council in the 2040s, 2050s. Some of them haven't been born yet. If you look back to what we were all doing in 1994, 3 of us weren't even able to vote. One of us didn't live in the city at the time. Another person was involved, but not on this council, not in the political sphere. So I think it is wishful thinking to say, okay, we can move forward with a general tax. We're going to get this amount of money, and we're going to dedicate it to. But I look at the gas tax that the state legislature voted on about 4 or 5 years ago. That was supposed to fix the roads, and we have been getting funding from the gas tax. However, we've been wrangling with Caltrans over the last 6 or 7 months to get the I-215 repurposed, even though we are paying $1 or $2 more than a lot of other states in this area. So I do think that we should go forward on a business tax. However, the issue with the business tax, and I do agree, it is harder to get the 2/3 limit. I do believe that if we do put this on, if it's a general tax or a business tax, we put it on the upcoming November election, both will fail. Now, I think the reasoning, when I initially heard general tax, I was thinking, oh, we'll get this passed because we had 52% of the voters vote for Measure A this past November. But we have to break that down. Out of the 52% that voted, that was 3,800 voters. Not all of them voted yes on Measure A. I think it was 1,500. These are the people that show up to every election. These are the people that read all the ballot statements. They're reading all the deceptive mailers Mayop sent, all the mailers we sent. They read the ballot statement and they decided to break down that way. If we come back this November, it's not going to be a cakewalk by any means of any way necessary. Or it's not going to be a cakewalk. One, you have the RCTC tax that's going to be on the ballot. It's going to raise our sales tax by 1% throughout the county. 2, you're going to have at least 8 statewide propositions that are going to be on the ballot. Some of them dealing with taxation. Some of them, I think one is the tax people making over $5 million a year. None of us make over $5 million a year, but there's going to be commercials for that. You're going to have the presidential election. Even though I believe this state is going to go one way, people are going to be discussing that. People are going to be discussing the Senate races. So you're going to have all this. We have the city council races. You have all these. You have a county supervisor race that's going to be contested. You have the state senate race that's going to be contested. You have state assembly races. You're going to have all this on there. People are going to be confused. People are going to start with president. They're going to be enthusiastic on president. As they go further and further down the ballot, by the time they get to city council, it's going to be, oh, okay, I think I know these people. Rab's that bald-headed guy or whatever. But like by the time they get down to Measure A, they're going to be fatigued. A lot of them aren't going to make it down to Measure A. So that's my issue, is I believe that we should go forward on a business license tax. The threshold is higher, but if we go on an off-year election, yes, it will cost more. Yes, we'll have fewer people voting. But I believe if we all join together, we get out there, we spread the word among the community, we get with the people that have been coming to these meetings. I know a lot of you, think 3 of us are the devil incarnate. But if we put aside our differences and work toward getting this passed, getting the 2/3 vote. You saw us 1,500 voted yes. We had 500 more people out there. And that's why I asked that question. I wasn't being facetious. I wasn't being an a-hole or anything like that. I was just saying, hey, if you guys were here back then, we were here back then, we all got together, we all went door to door, we could have gotten this thing passed. And on the other note, there's a situation regarding, we want the warehouses to pay their fair share. I do believe that the 2012 study is outdated. I do believe NAIOP is going to go hard for their people. That's what they do. At the same time, we have to go hard for our people, factoring in the business community. And I do believe when I say we don't want it to be like Detroit, I do mean We do not want to be an environment where we are high off the hog on one industry. Detroit, Gary, Indiana, Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all those areas in the Rust Belt, they all saw precipitous declines in their population. 1950, Detroit had 1.3 million people. In the last census, it was under 700,000. Part of that is they relied on one industry. The other part is they created an atmosphere and where business did not want to do business. They created an atmosphere where business say, hey, in the 80s and the 90s, let's go down to the Sun Belt. Let's move out of Detroit. Let's move to the Inkster. Let's move the outlying suburbs of Detroit. So they lost population. So we have to be cognizant of all that. So I do believe that we should direct staff to move forward on researching this, meeting with NAIOP, meeting with the community members, but I think we should come back on a special election 2025. But I do believe we should come back in February, March of 2025 to hammer out the details in terms of the price per square foot, so we get that developed, and then we move forward in, if needed, in, November of 2025. That's my comments.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilman Cronin?
Yeah, whether it's, I guess the question whether it should be a special tax or a general tax. I definitely understand the concerns, but I said it before. If we sign a pledge like other cities have done, I think Hemet was one that I remember they did it, and if we do something it's going to have a better chance. I mean, we did almost nothing. Our city's not allowed to be a proponent of a tax. But it still got the majority of the votes, right? Had it been a general election with the 3,000 people that voted or so, it would have passed and it would have moved on. But it was during a special tax. Now I want to be optimistic, and I think that there's a lot of people that might do work and knock on doors and stuff like that. But I think the same argument by the ballot's so busy. It's also going to draw the most amount of residents. And I think it's important that we hear what the residents want, right? We want this to be a high turnout and to hear how they want to decide. And also, I want to be optimistic, but I don't think it's going to get to 2/3. You'll always have a large percent of people that are against any tax. It doesn't matter if it's for somebody else, if it's for, taxing the warehouses or taxing, some other entity. They're just against taxes. And I think that the majority of people that did vote in this election, maybe not the majority, but a good amount of them are the people that vote all the time, right? But they're also fiscally conservative, right? So they're going to be more inclined to vote against any type of tax. So I think if we put in the general election, and we work with the organizations, and I have met with the people from NAIOP, and they told me if you don't put an escalator, we will not oppose it. So I'm willing to kind of compromise on that part. We start high and we keep it at 12 years, because I do understand the concern too. We're not going to be here. Probably none of us will be here in 12 years. Right? You have a whole new council, but so if we keep it we keep it at 12 years. Right, so that at least some of us will be here to remind them. And I plan, as long as I take care of my health, I plan on being here in 12 years. So I'll keep reminding the council at the time. If they ever decide to change it up, I'll come and stop by and remind them, hey, listen, we voted for this, you're going against it. And if they do decide to do it, at least the money's going to the residents of Paris for something. I don't know. It could be for parks or something like that. It's not my intention. The intention should be for the roads, right? What's intended. And it's important that we find out what has the best opportunity of passing, to continue to work with the organizations. But I'm really expecting that NAIOP's going to hold their word to it. If we don't include an escalator, maybe we start high at the 4 million, and we don't include the escalator for 12 years, and then we keep it at 12 years. I can't see them realistically want to oppose it, or else they're not sticking to the word that they gave me. So I think the best chance for it to pass is we put it on in November. We still have a couple meetings to work this through, kind of look at the numbers and the data. But I just want to remind everybody, if we leave it the way it is right now, we don't change anything, it's the residents of Paris that are fronting the bill. And I don't think that's acceptable. And the residents of Paris are should NAIOP pay 100%? Or not? I don't want to say NAIOP, but should the warehouses pay 100% for the roads that they travel and destroy? I guess that's a discussion we could have in maybe a future meeting. But right now, I can tell you the Paris residents shouldn't be paying it, and right now they are. So I'm willing to work forward. Hopefully, you could bring this back, and if we do decide to put on November's election, then please bring a pledge, and I'm willing to sign it. And hopefully, my colleagues are as well too. Though. But that's all the comments I have.
All right,
Thank you.
let's go one by, because we still got another hearing, or not a hearing, but another item to go over. But let's go one through one here on this slide that's up, so we can give direction to staff. Obviously, we want to go forward with the business license tax. We won't decide whether special or general for right now. We can work that one out. Do we, the question would be is, do we want to work out a plan with a CPI escalator or not? Can we get a consensus on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Is the business license tax, does that have to be, that's not a special election, right? But
The business license tax is just a type of, it's kind of confusing, but the business license tax is a type of tax, and then whether that tax can be a general or a special tax, and that controls the revenue expenditure.
yeah, I'm sorry, does that tax need to have a 2/3?
If it's a general tax, yes.
Not a general tax.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2/3 vote of the voters?
Yeah.
If it's a special tax, yes. If it's a general tax, no.
Okay.
We're
All right,
good.
Sorry, yeah, we're good, okay. Just wanted to clear that up.
It's just the name, we're calling
I
it a
know.
business license
I know.
tax for distribution.
Gotcha.
All right, so the first question would be, do we want staff to come back and move forward and give us some scenarios on CPI escalators? You just finished off saying you didn't support that, so.
I am open, but I would still like to see it.
Madam City Manager, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's getting late.
I think for tonight, the staff's recommendation or we're asking is, it sounds like it's two different things the council would like to see, whether you want us to come back with another discussion item before giving us direction to bring back an ordinance.
Hey, we're still in discussion mode.
Oh, okay, so we're not,
Yes,
Oh,
I
okay,
specified that. Because there was a lot of different variations going on here, so we need to get this more fine-tuned. Can we get a consensus? Do we want an escalator or not?
Yes on escalator
I say
because
yes.
price of everything continues to go up.
Everything's going up, but potentially looking at a cap, just in case we get like a.
That's not.
But yes,
One
an
thing at a
escalator.
time. Do we want an escalator?
Yes.
Yes.
That's 3 already. Did you?
I want to keep all options open.
All right, so we've got to work on an escalator. Now, the next question. Do we do it with a cap or not?
All options open.
Without cap.
Without cap.
I would say a cap, because we could have 15% inflation, like.
Understood.
Both
I
ways.
I would like to see a cap too eventually. Anybody else? Is there a third person for that?
I said both, either way, both ways.
Well, that's enough for consensus, so include a cap. Size of buildings as part of the tax measure. Do we want to stipulate variances on sizes of the buildings, warehouses?
So I think that was part of the issue last time, that hey, what about the small and pop shops and stuff like that? And maybe we keep it at 100,000. Just keep it simple, 100,000.
Start at 100,000?
Start at 100,000. Is that?
Good with that?
Yes,
Okay, 100,000 square feet.
yes.
Anybody see anything that we need to add in there?
Just real quickly, do you also want to include truck terminals because they don't have a square footage?
Truck terminals.
Like a place that has heavy truck use but don't have a building, or they have a very small
Well,
building?
then, wasn't that in the language of, that falls under a manufacturer or something?
It did, but because you brought up the 100,000 square feet, I just want to just
Oh.
clarify that excludes truck terminals or truck.
well,
It doesn't have a building, but they've got trucks.
but we would include the area where there's truck parking over 100,000. We would treat it the same. I mean, that would be
Over
interchangeable.
100,000 what?
Square feet
Of land?
of truck parking area, if there's no building. If you want to kind of,
It would be the area used for that purpose.
Right.
So areas that aren't used for that purpose,
Well, bring it back for discussion. I'm I'm not saying I want to exclude them, but I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I just want to make sure it gets fair all the way across. Yeah. Okay. Did we miss anything else, council, that you guys want to see in here?
Yeah, just a possibility for discussion. What about exemptions for any warehouse that's that bringing in maybe over $1 million for sales tax? They're exempted from this.
So if you're bringing in money to the city, you're going to be
You're already
excluded?
exempt. You're exempt, but a certain amount. I mean, you're not. So to kind of incentivize e-commerce and sales tax contributors.
Well, that would be for the future, but we're dealing with now. All right, anybody want to support that? Let's see, no? No? You tried.
That's what I tried.
Anything else? And guys, this is not finalized. We, you know, if you bring up something when you come back next meeting, come back. I'm not going to say, no, we can't talk about that because we didn't say that. You know, we just want to give an idea to staff what they're going to come back with.
Expiration date?
Oh, yes, I want an expiration date.
Length of,
Nothing.
the length of the
Yeah,
measure.
this 30 years, let's go something, let's bring some various choices there.
Yeah, maybe like 30, 20, 12.
Or
Matt
10,
says,
10,
I'm
20.
gonna have to do this
Or 10,
work.
10, 20, 30, you know, make it easy, 10, 30, 10,
Well,
20, 30,
well,
you know.
see, the concern I had about that, Mayor, was that if it ends on a presidential year.
Oh, you
I
specified
mean,
to
feel
make
free to
it
bring
end.
10, 12,
okay, all right.
20,
Yeah.
30.
Okay, anything else, guys? I think that covers it pretty good.
Well, I think the big question is, does it go on this November or save it for another year? I mean, I'm in favor of this November.
Well, we can surely discuss that again. We'll include that in the discussion. Are we, so let's just say they come back and everybody's really happy and the community's happy, NAOP's happy, then we can actually say, okay, this is great, let's go forward and let's push this on the ballot. Is that fair enough?
I would actually agree with that and to backtrack some of my statements. A shorter time frame, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the general tax. Because in 10 years, 12 years, a lot of us, well, most of us will still, we won't be on this council, but we'll still be living here,
Right.
engaging, so.
Very good. All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, can I recap what I just heard?
I didn't write it down, but go ahead.
I wrote it down, so I want to make sure. So we said yes to the CPI escalator. We said to include a cap, look at buildings starting at 100,000, look at options for length 10, 12, 20, and 30 years. Did I pretty much sum it up? Okay, hopefully, all right. Thank you.
And the
I didn't
expiration
write
date.
down, so I don't know.
Expiration date.
Expiration.
Expiration. Was that it?
What did you say for the cap?
We used to said include a cap. We didn't say, yeah. That works.
Yeah, escalator with the cap.
With the cap, correct.
They sound like he summarized it all, because I wasn't writing notes down.
I wrote it, so I want to make sure I heard it right.
Okay, well, again, it's nothing concrete anyway, we can
Right.
always bring it,
Bring it
hey, you
back.
forgot this.
And then the tax rate would be based on the discussions with NAOP.
Correct, yes.
Well,
And
with-
looking at the WRCOG Nexus study too.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item is 12B. Yes, this is a consideration to review and provide recommendations regarding the fiscal year 2024-25 draft capital improvement program. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Schenk.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Yes, tonight we are opening up the Capital Improvement Program workshop for the fiscal year 24-25. This will be a very brief presentation. The much greater detail is in the staff report of what is being proposed tonight. There is no voting being done tonight. This is just a workshop looking for information from council. So timeline on this, we started meeting with the departments back in March 15th. We did present to the Parks and Rec Committee the requests that you are also included tonight. April 29th, we finished meetings with city departments. So this is not a one-week process. This takes a very long time of multiple meetings with the same departments. And because, as you will see in the staff report, we are not only requesting additional funding, but we're going back and looking at existing projects and deciding what we can close to open up funding for other projects. Tonight, we obviously, May 14th, we're here for the CIP workshop. May 30th, this will be presented to the Ways and Means Committee with any amendments that is requested tonight. And June 11th, is the proposed date to take this to the council for final approval. Like I said, this is just a brief summary. We have 15 new projects that are being proposed, requesting $15.1 million. Only $650,000 of that will be provided by the general fund. Existing capital projects, we have 28 existing projects with proposed amendments. 12 projects are being closed due to completion. We are requesting $14.1 million in additional funding. $1,050,000 of that is requested from the general fund. And currently, just to give a scale, the 23-24 current CIP budget is at $195 million. Like I mentioned, we have $195 million. Some of the categories and how those are categorized and how much is going into those. The largest one is $121 million for streets, that's 62%. The next is Parks and Rec at $31.8 million or 16%. $20.7 million for facilities or 11%. $10.5 million for storm drain or 6%. Traffic signals, $9.8 million or 5%. And lastly, sewer, just $500,000, just under 1%. That's just the breakdown of where these CIP monies are going. As far as the reserves, as you can see, we have 4 different levels of reserves. We have non-spendable, committed, assigned, and unassigned. Just a refresher, the non-spendable, this is a requirement that covers prepaid items and deposits. We have to put that to the side. We cannot touch that. The committed, this is the minimum 35% threshold that the council has approved. We cannot go below that. These amounts are set aside for current year expenditures to ensure that we have enough money for the current fiscal year. Assigned, you will see that number does not change year to year. That is assigned by the council as well. That is for disaster preparedness, vehicles and equipment, major capital improvement, and budget contingency. As you can see, from 21-22 up to 23-24, which is estimated, we've gone from total reserves of $58.3 million, which is a 99% funding level over the 35%, and 22-23 is 102% reserve level. So as far as where can we pull money besides the general fund, these are all the different, they can be DIFs, they can be state or federal grants, but these are the availabilities of where we can pull monies from outside of the general fund. The middle column you can see is the beginning balance. We had $68.2 million available. As I mentioned, we are requesting a total of $29.3 million. And I want to note out that a positive number in the budget changes is us requesting funding. It's not us putting back into it. And lastly, on the ending balance column, you can see what's available still if council has any requests for additional CIP. Just to go over an overview of a few projects that have been completed and/or in progress. Community services. First, we have the Paris Green City Farm. We had that grand opening a month or so ago. That was completed this spring of 2024. That was just under $1 million. We see just outside the building, we have the Fossfield Park Tennis Court project. That was also just under $1 million. You can see the project funding was coming from ARPA as well as Industrial Park DIF. Some community services projects that are still in progress. We have the Morgan Phase Park 2.1 and Connector Road. This total funding is $4.1 million. This is provided by the Community Services Department. This is a rendering of what it's going to look like. Also, we just had the ribbon, or the groundbreaking for the Paragon Skate Park, and this has a total estimated project cost of $2.6 million. I apologize, this one does not have the funding on it. Also, starting very shortly is the early childhood classroom and office for 227. And this is a total project cost of just over $1 million.
Let me interrupt you there. Can you go back to do we know where the funding came for the skate park?
I have it in the details, I just don't have it in my slide. I can provide that to you. Would you like me to look it up?
Well, I think Sabrina should know this.
Yes.
The park fees or?
Yes, this is the industrial, ARPA.
Park fees?
ARPA and industrial park diff.
ARPA and industrial park fees. Thank you. Go ahead, Matt, sorry.
No problem. It's a workshop. On to Public Works. Some of the projects completed just in the last year. The Cesar Chavez Library received a new air conditioning unit for a total construction costs of $300,000. This upgraded and replaced the HVAC. Also, the D Street between 10th and Alley sidewalk improvements. This is just showcasing what has been completed already. And as you can see in the staff report, this is a project that's ongoing, continuing down D Street. CIP projects for Public Works upcoming. Like I mentioned, the D Street public area enhancements between 6th and 8th Street. And that concludes for the just overview. A couple ideas just to think of for the, when it comes to the reserves and wanting to pull from the reserves. We always like to point out possible recession. We've had an inverted yield curve, which they say is an indicator of a recession. They've been saying that for 3-4 years now. It has not happened. Obviously, we know inflation is being combated by the raising interest rates. And lastly, just the liability insurance conditions. We will see in budget amendments in July that we will be requesting just all public agencies are really getting hit by the insurance agencies right now. And the requested action is just City Council review and provide recommendations to the staff for fiscal year 24-25 CIP. And
Very
I'd be
good.
happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, can you guys please use the queue so we can be a little orderly fashion here? Maybe one time, first of all, let me make sure, Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak from the public?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Council, deliberation here. Great presentation, by the way, thank you.
Thank you.
Guess we have no comments, so.
I'll take it.
Councilman
I'll
Corona,
just switch back
hang
and
on.
want to look at the slides. Oh, I'm sorry. Just quick question and comment. So, our reserves total how much again? It was 73 million?
And I have a better number for you than I did at the.
You do? Okay.
Yes, it's
Fantastic.
projected for the current fiscal year we're in right now is 23-24. That ends June 30th. We're projected right now of total reserves of 73.4 million.
Okay, great. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. But what percentage would that be again of the?
Well, the prior year was 102%. And see, it always changes. Like it'd be about 106%.
106%. Okay. So that means like we could theoretically not get any money and we'd still be, I mean, it'd be
Correct.
disastrous, but we could still do that. Okay.
Yeah, so the reserve basically is the percentage of your general fund revenue or budget for the year. So we can cover a full year without receiving a single dollar. The city can.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely amazing. But I think there's a fine line between saving money, which we've done a great job, and hoarding money. When we have so many things that our residents want, one of the things that they want, and I'm not proposing to spend a big chunk on it right now, but the aquatic center, we have the funds to write a check right now. We could have an aquatic center built within the next 1 or 2 years.
That would come out of which one?
The unassigned. Right, but I'm not saying to do that. What I am saying that we go in that.
That's more than half of that money that's in there.
Right, but it's unassigned. I mean, but we still be left with, let's say 20 million, which is an extremely nice one. We'd still be with 53 million still in our reserves. I mean, essentially, but.
That's total reserves. You can't make it sound like it's available. Unassigned is only
Okay, so
39.
let's get the unassigned then.
You
So-
take 20 million, you're left with
Yeah.
19 million.
So if you, okay, yeah, so you'd be,
That's
I mean,
73.
it's still much more than most cities, I take it, right, Mr.?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We
We're still in
get-
a healthy situation?
Yes, we're, compared to other cities, we're very healthy.
And compared to, like, I mean, it would still be a healthy situation for our city, right?
Well,
We'd be well above our.
Just to
where we
clarify,
need to be
so
at.
the committed is at 35% minimum threshold, and then the unassigned is anything on top of that. So the 35% is the committed, and the other 65% would be made up and unassigned to get up to that 100%. So
Yeah.
I guess if you were, yes, you can't pull from that committed,
Right,
correct?
right.
But you would still not go under that.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying do that. I think we need to go into steps and as stated, I mean, a couple of bad years might impact that negatively.
Correct.
But at the very least, I think we need to start, coming with, being real serious about location, even start doing the plans for that. And I know that takes a certain cost. And, but, I think as a city, if we continue at this rate, I mean, we should definitely look. I know we keep talking about it. I know our residents keep asking us for it, but we haven't been serious about it. So I think we got to start being serious about that. But that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody's in the queue. Hey, thanks a lot for this report. I do have one question, though. The assigned 6.2 million,
Yes.
that's for what, you said?
So that's broken up. Disaster preparedness is 3.4 million. Vehicles and equipment, 1.3 million. Major capital improvement, 1.3 million. And a budget contingency, which was designated by council of
My
200.
question on that is, when's the last time, that always remains at 6.2, so when's the last time we increased that?
Yeah, if the council would like to look into that, I can get some information from
you
other
don't know-
cities.
you don't-
I don't know the last time it was raised.
I just would like to see here, at the next meeting, or send an email, I mean, or maybe, can't do that in email, just bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay.
When it was last used, when it was last increased.
Increase, yeah, I think that's something we need to, with the cost of everything going up, and this is for disaster and all that, I think it's time to up the ante there.
Right.
Okay? All right, very good. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Okay, it takes us now to business items continued. No. I'm tired. Item 13 is council communications. Councilman Corona, you got
Thank you,
anything?
Mayor. I'll try to be brief. Cinco de Mayo event, fantastic. Thank you, staff, for that event. It was just a great event. Music was good. Everything, all the kids were happy and everything. This past Sunday, we celebrated probably one of the most special holidays of the year, Mother's Day. So I just want to, just say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here, Sabrina and Miss Amascar and our city manager, and of course my council, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, and our city clerk Nancy Salazar, and to our newest mother, our newest mom, Councilwoman Nava, and of course to my own mom here that sits there throughout the meeting, and all the other mothers, including my wife, and just hopefully you guys had a well-rested, happy Mother's Day, because you definitely deserve it. That's all the comments from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Nava.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank staff for another wonderful event for our families. There was great food, great entertainment, great everything. So thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. And then I also, along with our mayor, participated in the SCAG Regional Conference. This is a place where other local elected officials collaborate on issues such as mobility, housing, communities. So that's a little bit of what I've been up to. And those are all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Reb?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. Earlier this month, I attended the Western Riverside Conservation Authority as the delegate for the city of Paris. We continue acquiring habitat land. We also appointed Aaron Hakey as the new director of the Western Riverside Conservation Authority. Also had the opportunity this past Friday to attend the the Rotary Honors event. It was a great event with Mayor Vargas along with Councilman Corona. Very great event, seeing all the people volunteering for our community. I just want to bring everyone's attention, this upcoming, 2 weeks from now, we'll be celebrating or honoring Memorial Day. So just to honor the men and women who sacrificed their lives in upholding this country. And also this week is National Police Officers Week, and I believe tomorrow is May 15th is National Police Officer Memorial Day for those who have passed away in the line of duty. So if you, during the course of the next few weeks, just give some time to reflect and honor those individuals who both served our country and passed away, and those individuals serving in law enforcement capacities. And once again, thank everyone for coming out and speaking today. Really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was able to attend the memorial service for our 102 longtime resident, Willie Moses. And it was a blessing just to be there and to hear about her wonderful legacy.
Yes. Thank you for representing. I have to reiterate the Cinco de Mayo. So last year was kind of a low turnout. This year was even better. So when I had talked with community services about coming back this year, we kind of decided we'll give it one more shot, see how it goes, and it was a success. So this is good. So hopefully we'll be even better next year. I just want to give prompts to our town lawyer. Everybody knows him, Joshua Nagar. The Women's Club, the Paris Valley Women's Club held an elder abuse awareness workshop, if you would, about protecting our seniors. And Joshua Nagar was the very own keynote speaker and gave some really good information to our seniors. So it was a good program. And then thank our staff for, when we talk about Mother's Day, yes, happy Mother's Day to everybody, including my wife as well. But staff had a Mother's Day movie night at Frank Eaton Park this past Friday night, which was a pretty good event. That was our first movie night for the summer. So thank you again for that program. Okay, cut it short and move on to our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comments.
Very good. She's learning. Okay, that takes us to our last item, item 15, adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight, and everybody watching us on social media. Have a good evening. It is a little late tonight, so see you next time. We are adjourned officially at 9:29 p.m.